Francis has no walls. Christopher Lopoli, traveling at night. Explore, take risks. I certainly don't know what I'm doing, and I don't remember what the rest of that statement says. But good evening, everybody. I need to pop up the volume a little bit. I feel like I've gotten a bad habit on my Wednesdays for being late to cast. It's not because I'm feeling particularly ill. That was maybe the case more so yesterday and this morning, but I'm more or less better. Just happened to be a very busy day today, and I knew I was going to cast no matter what, but I had very little idea. Hello, the Eyes of Sin. I'm sorry I didn't reply to whatever your most recent message was. Obviously, I was getting ready to do this, but it is wonderful to see you. I hope you are well. I hope you are warm. And thank you for showing a little bit of love and support to Alex the Rambler, because he is... In fact, let's take a quick minute here and give credit where credit is due. I don't get a chance to see Alex the Rambler that much in my own channel. But he is... So I originally met him in a bar in Vancouver, and we're talking a little bit about streaming. I had no idea that he was actually a reasonably big YouTuber, more so known for Total War, and wasn't really big on Paradox's games like Crusader Kings and such, whereas I'm very big. Yeah, I've for those of you who've watched the channel for a while, you know that I kind of have this view that like Paradox games are Louis XIV games, where you sort of live this l'état c'est moi, and you are a very capable administrator, and you put experts, and it abstracts away the war. And the Total War games feel a little bit more like Charles XII games of Sweden. An exceptionally gifted military commander. You know, you go in at the battle level, but you really do it feels like you spend a lot more time on, managing the battles. And one of the problems that I have, I'm getting slightly better at this, but one of the problems I've always run into with Total War is that I always feel like I'm smashing army men together, and I know there's more sophistication to those games than that. It's just that I haven't been able to unlock that. But anyways, Rambler has done a very good transition, and for those of you who like the Paradox games, he's been part of the YouTuber Wars on the Paradox channel. He does a lot of Hearts of Iron 4, and I still haven't streamed Total War, so clearly we know who had the better taste. Taught him everything he knows. But no, the reason I mention this is because he is one of these people. So, Weather Factory has given me probably entirely too much attention than I really deserve. And thank you to all of you who have stuck around from their recommendations. They've even resulted in me getting a few subs, which is always nice, because that's a direct sort of a direct way where I've gotten money just because of a recommendation that they've made, or mention even. I don't know how much they recommend, but with that in mind, Alex the Rambler, despite the fact that he's a much larger streamer and YouTuber than I am, and somebody who, I really have no way of reciprocating, has always gone out of his way to make sure that I get a host. And every once in a while somebody does mention, oh yeah, I came from Rambler's channel, I like your stuff. So we don't get a chance. This is the one problem that I run into. Thank you very much for that host, Captain Shield. I hope you're doing well. I don't know why the alert didn't trigger. Let me refresh the... Hey, Ragnus, Domi, good to see you too. I'm filibustering at the start a little bit. Apologies to the YouTube crowd. We'll have that. We'll be up and running in a moment. Yeah, I don't know why your alert didn't pop up, Captain Shield, but I appreciate it. You'll actually see a host that you gave me on the Surviving Mars video. Now, that unfortunately won't be on Twitch tomorrow, and I found out that this version of OBS, the non-studio one, version 0.659b, it is terrible for recording MP4. It's 2 times in a row now that I've tried to record an MP4 style video, and it's been interrupted for one reason or another. And if if you've ever tried to record MP4, you know if there's any interruption to the stream, you lose it. There's no way of recovering those videos, despite the fact they take a bunch of hard drive space. But anyways, I did want to take a minute. Very special thank you to Rambler, because he's somebody who, when you see somebody like Captain Shield come in with a host, I'm able to thank them at the time. I try to make an effort to thank the people who are hosting at the moment. But Rambler has been somebody who's really had an outsized influence in terms of the growth of the stream. And I really, despite that, I've not been able to give him credit where credit is due. So wanted to take a moment for that. But of course, I am very grateful to everybody who does host and like and share all of this stuff, because it is the only way I get noticed. The most recent blog came out, and you can tell the ones that people like and share. That one has a total of 13 views. And the last one was many times over that. So it's never something that I can take for granted, and it is definitely something that sort of keeps me on even a very small growth path. And I owe that to you, because obviously I'm really not equipped to be able to promote myself. That's something maybe I should do better in 2019, but I need to learn all these things. So hello, Jamie Sam, great to see you. Before we jump into the game, it's worth mentioning there'll be a new patch that comes out this month, and I think I'm allowed to say I'm at least anticipating on being on Steam. I don't have any specific. Well, I don't know if there's any specific things that I shouldn't mention on this. So, but there is plans for another Steam stream, and when I have details, I'll be able to announce. I will do so. And I am noticing that there's more and more competition in that space too. So if you guys do show up for that, I will give you as much advance notice as I can. But this is another great little moment where it can mean the difference between us showing up on the front page and not. So it's a nice little opportunity. Johnny Big Time, thank you very much for the host. I don't know why these alerts aren't coming through. They were coming through when I was recording Surviving Mars. Well, I'll have to shout you out in a minute. But overall, I need to get like a major Ascension victory done before the new patch comes out. A bit better at Captain Shield. I'm late starting, obviously, but things are slowly picking up. My hand is hurt though, so. And I'm sorry to hear the internet's not doing well, Ragnus Domi. Let me just make sure that my bitrate's what it normally is. I do want to rush into the start. I'm already almost 10 minutes in before actually getting into any gameplay. But as always, I do want to give the proper credits for people who've worked on this. I'll try and get some ideas. One thing I did want to cover, and I think because I'm doing this so much later than I really should, I might miss out on the opportunity of this. One thing that I'm not crazy about with the Dancer DLC, and this is specifically the way that I've played it, is because I've specifically wanted to try and sort of unlock stuff over time, and I've just been a little more chatty. And part of that was because of someone who was in the chat and is no longer participating. These things happen, Captain Shield. I'm not too worried about it. But yeah, there were definitely some times where I got really pushed off track. And I kind of had this ideal of everything sort of being discovered live in the moment. But I think the problem is that obviously when I started streaming Cultist Simulator, I'd already had quite a bit of time that I put into it. So one of the things I've been debating about, I can't really dedicate more days to Cultist Simulator, but one of the things I am considering when we have the new patch is that I can do this as a little bit of a... I could potentially roll this into one of the vodcasts, that I maybe don't have a dedicated Wednesday live broadcast anymore, and instead, when I have some spare time, I can sit down, I can record a session of Cultist Simulator. And in that case, I'm not going to be spending as much time interacting with chat, and I'll be focusing more. I'll still talk about the personal stuff, and I'll still be talking about reactions to the game and that. But one of the things that I was thinking about, these Elder Scrolls and these Surviving Mars vodcasts have been a little bit of an experiment, ultimately to consider Cultist Simulator in that format. And the reason why I think that's a good fit and why I wanted to do those trial balloons is that of all of the videos that I do, Cultist Simulator is the most popular on YouTube. There's like one Battlefield 1 video, and for whatever reason, because I called the Lawrence of Arabia 1 Seven Pillars of Wisdom, which is the name of his book, it just seems to be that a lot of people who want to find out about Lawrence of Arabia are clicking on that, despite the fact it is clearly a Battlefield 1 game. And you can totally see it in the thumbs up and thumbs downs. But yeah, I'm debating on this. It's something that I would be interested in getting some feedback on. If you'd like to continue seeing a dedicated live stream to this, or if maybe me recording the time that I privately play the game. The trade-off, I know the biggest problem with all this is that whenever you present it as potentially losing something, oh no, Wednesday Cultist Days will go away, people usually don't want to see that. But the trade-off I can tell you is this: it is likely I will do more Cultist Simulator videos, and they'll be available both on Twitch and on YouTube if I just record them whenever I privately do them. And if I do my weekly stream, then you know that on the Wednesday I'm going to wind up with the third Wednesday I'm going to wind up going to Dirty Rectangles, and basically you'll get about 3 Cultist Simulator streams a month, which really just translates to about 9 hours. That's one of the reasons why, the progress is kind of slow. I am sort of chatty, but when you think about it, like, this game has a lot of content in it. So if I give myself 9 hours a month to make progress in the game, it is going to take that long to get through a single playthrough. So it's an open idea. I know some of you do like the interactivity, and I don't want to leave you guys on your own, but if you're on YouTube and you have a feeling about that, feel free to leave it in the comments. You can tweet me, you can say so in chat. It's an idea I'm kicking around, and hopefully I do right by the people who keep wanting to see my stuff. Sean, how are you doing? Oh my goodness, I got a bunch of shout outs to do. So what I will get done, I will give credit where credit is due. We will jump into the game, and then I will tell you about Johnny Big Time, and I'll tell you about Sean, and I'll tell you about the Eyes of Sin, and who else is a streamer in here? Well, again, I know Sean's not a streamer, but Sean has a new game called Judgment, and I can't make games, but he has been talking about Bitsy, and then I see the stuff that he does with Bitsy, and I realize how uncreative I am. So it's one that I want to mention. Actually, it's one that maybe... Tell you what, at the end of this stream, I'm going to show you another occult card game. So, responsibilities: design, writing, and coding, Alexis Kennedy. Production, marketing, and biz, Lottie Bevan. UI design and coding, Martin Narrowcar. Now, all of these people are people you can follow on Twitter, at Alexis Kennedy, at Tron Bevan. I believe it's at M Narukar. Alexis and Lottie you obviously know from this game. Lottie was producer on Sunless Skies as well as Sunless Seas of Mariner, and then another company which I never really figured out what it was, but she never really says anything like it was my dream job, so I kind of leave that lacuna in place. We've got, and then of course Alexis Kennedy, responsible for Fallen London and Sunless Sea and the Horizon Signal and many other wonderful gaming products. Martin Narukar has his own game coming out, Nowhere Profit. You can get it on itch, and you'll get a Steam key when the time comes for that. It's still, I believe, in whatever their equivalent of early access or first access is. Jamie Sam, you don't mind it, but you're the kind of person that watches really long videos on YouTube. Yeah, well, there'll still be long videos on YouTube. The question is whether or not I do a live and interactive video, or if I record more sessions, sort of. Like, basically, if I can go back to playing Cultist Simulator the way that I did before, and just record those sessions, Now, it'll be different because I'll still be speaking into a microphone and things like that, but I'll make a lot more progress inside the game, and so as a result, there'll be basically just more Cultist Simulator content, which I think would generally be more popular. But if there's something about the interactivity that people prefer, I wanna cover that as well. Anyone can make games if they want to. This is true. I think it's just the biggest thing is that I look at a tool like Bitsy, and the ideas that I have are very driven by the default settings of Bitsy. And I think the thing that impresses me so much about all of the stuff that you do, and this isn't even just something on like Bitsy, and sorry guys, I know I'm speaking directly to Sean here, this will make no sense, but I have to play some of his games on stream for you, and I think I'll do that at the end of tonight. I think the thing that impresses me so much is that where I look at a, like a default setting of something, and it's sort of like, oh, okay, so this is the type of game I make with it. And it just kind of winds up being another iteration on those things that you kind of come to expect. I've always been really impressed with how you sort of wring every last little bit out of a given tool. And it reminds me a lot, I've been going down this rabbit hole of old Canadian art films, actually with that in mind. Not even just old Canadian art films, but like the National Film Board and just a lot of the weird arty stuff that I used to watch a lot more than I used to. And this is going to be a wonderful opportunity for me to get my plug-in. So for those of you who haven't seen the new article, there's a story about Arthur Lipsett, which I would love if you guys would check out, and specifically if you'd watch the movies. But I think one of the biggest things is that when I know these figures like Arthur Lipsett, Norman McLaren, and things like that, they are people who, like, their films were really good, but you can very clearly see that, like, even if there was a problem or a mistake that happened, they found an interesting way of sort of inverting it or turning it into something really useful for their projects. And so that's one of the things that I really like about some of your Bitsy projects, which is that you take something where you look at Bitsy and you say, okay, this is for making this kind of game that sort of looks like an even more pixely version of Final Fantasy, and you have fewer options in terms of things that you can do. But then, I'll sit down and play some of the stuff that you've done. It's like, oh, you can do a lot with one room, or you can do a lot with, basically the different themes that come up. So it's one of these ones where it's sort of like, I know my role. I'm very good at like crunching numbers and having strong opinions about things, but also bringing, facts and data and reason to them. And I'm not entirely sure I have a lot to contribute to the world in terms of game systems. But I did opt into at least signing up for the Winter Game Jam at Shopify. So I will make an effort to at least contribute. Anyway, speaking of people who make games and are good at it, we've got art by Catherine Unger, Clockwork Cuckoo, Lottie Bevan, and Sarah Gordon. Obviously, Lottie, you already know her Twitter, but I believe Catherine Unger and Clockwork Cuckoo, and actually no, I believe all three are on Twitter as well. We've got music, Mary Beth Solomon, Brent Barkman, Mickey Urbe for Mickey Mar Productions Limited. I know at least one of them is Canadian. Audio by Sound Cuts, additional writing by Lottie Bevan, additional coding by Fraser McCormick, Chris Payne, Mark Gagney. Apologies if I mispronounced any of these names. Lyros Saitor? Anyways, he hosts a I think it's called like the Fansys or something like that. If you ever wanted to know like what all the JSON and all that looks like in the background, and if you want to mod Cultist Simulator, I believe this individual hosts that website. And then additional design by Callan Porter. And finally, special thanks Sonia and PK, which I believe are family. Matt Hosty, who I think might be a classics professor at Oxford, but I never got verification. Haley Urias, also of Failbetter, currently at Failbetter though, and literally everyone who has ever sent feedback or a bug report. Thank you. And if you would like to send feedback or a bug report, support@weatherfactory.biz. Especially if you don't own the game, because then that'll mean you have to buy it and add. Sean LeBlanc says, I'm flattered that you're pushing the limits of Bitsy has impressed you, but there's still plenty of value in just playing within that default space. Yeah, well, I mean, again, I'm not turned off by it. I do definitely think a lot more in terms of systems. I don't have a very strong artistic ability, so I think a tool like I like getting my hands dirty with code. So I actually sort of think that if I could work around some of the unfriendliness of Unity at the start, I actually wouldn't necessarily mind building systems and things like that. But on the other hand, there is something to be said. I mean, this was true when I worked in film. Like, trying to light a horror movie with 2 lights definitely brought out a level of creativity in me that would probably not have been there if I had an entire lighting kit. But yeah, I hope to see you there. I don't know if I just signed up for like we're gonna put you in a list and like you have to beat each other with cement-filled milk jugs before we let you in, or if service guarantees citizenship. But one way or the other, I will be a body in that room, hopefully. And for those of you who've waited 20 minutes for the bloody game to start, on we go with the story of Roland the Dancer. I will get all the proper shout outs and thank yous done during the game. But I did want to acknowledge that Captain Shield hosted the stream as well as Johnny Big Time. I don't know if Johnny Big Time has left in a rage because I know he was struggling a little bit with the games that he was playing tonight, but he is a wonderful man, and I will show you exactly why when I've got a little bit of gameplay under my belt. How is everyone doing tonight? And if you have anything you would like to promote, I'm in a particularly sharing mood, so if you'd like to, I don't know, sell yourself as some maker of mysteries and other fascinations, feel free to speak up and plug your stuff. And if I know you individually, I will definitely make sure that I let you get a bow formally at some point. So where were we? I believe we were churning through as many of the secret histories as we could. I think I might have messed up. I should have used the Forbidden Epic on Sulochana in order to find the next place where I could do the dance. So, seeing as I feel like I'm missing cards, by the way, but seeing as I'm sort of locked in on my locations. Okay, well, the easy one for me right now is that because I haven't, because I don't have the option in terms of gaining the next dancing location, I should use that talk to. I should use the talk to upgrade Porter. Got something I can do with work. Now, the most sensible thing for me to do would be to summon another creature. I should probably repair this, because this will give me some pretty powerful lantern, which... But I think I'm going to do one of these really rare things, which is, again, I think this was also dealt with on one of the dev streams, where I think the rituals are going to be reworked because everybody basically goes the one for influence, and it makes sense that you give up the influence one, right? Because you don't want to lose like an item that you have. And influence goes away on its own, so it's, it makes sense to do that. I think in this case, though, I tend not to use this stuff. So I've got a fairly high-powered heart or a fairly high-powered moth. So this might be really lame to get a to get a I'm not quite ready to give up lore. Oh, I'm not ready to sacrifice people. Oh, I don't have that ritual. Fair enough. Yeah, I was going to try and summon a percussagant, but I don't actually have the ritual that lets me do that, so I might just have to bring a hint and see what we can do. Hello, Le Chauffleur. Alright, let's say no rituals to do in the moment then, so... And I've got 32 seconds, so we'll just do our usual dancing thing. I'm a bit low on health, but we'll make do. And then the weary detective should be able to get by. Hey, tall man alive. I'd say we're probably somewhere approaching halfway on this one. Oh, we're gonna get some more restlessness. And we might. I don't think we'll get it in time for the. I don't think we'll get it in time for the dance, though. Okay, so we've got 3 lessons learned. I believe 1, 2, 3, 4. So I need a 4th. I think this is going to take me longer than. I think this is going to take me longer than 40 seconds, though. Yep. So I'm going to be juggling something that I can't really manage. Let's go to the Lodge of the Sage Knight. Okay, Forgotten Chronicle. A story of a city without a gate, of a queen who was not born, of a war which was not fought. Last night I visited the Lodge of the Sage Knight. My hostess manifested as an elegant woman with fashionably short hair and dark glasses. No, she admits, I don't need them anymore. Any more than I need eyes. Allow me my sentimentalities. But you've come for knowledge, I expect. Here's a story that I heard in my Kersham days. You are welcome to it. Only remember me if you come to make the pilgrimage. Okay, so there's our Forgotten Chronicle. I'm forgetting, these are... So Forgotten Chronicles are the continent. I'm pretty sure these are... Yeah, okay. I'm not losing my mind. So I could check with you, tall man alive. Are you new to Cultist Simulator? Are you a fan of the game and just found the stream here? I'm always very fond of bringing new people into the fold if you're finding out the game for the first time. But if you're an old hand, you just get to watch me scramble around with my my lack of forethought. You know, we'll just do the big heart. New fan, excellent. Have you gotten an Ascension victory yet, or are you still working towards that first one? I remember I was very excited the first time I got my win, which was obviously Enlightenment under the Mirror of Glory, because that is clearly the best one. Just bought it in the sale. That is great. There is, so we've done working, oh great. So yeah, I should let you know, this will sound frightfully immodest, and it almost certainly is. But I have on occasion been allowed to stream on the Weather Factory page for Cultist Simulator on Steam, and with the release of a new patch, we should be doing the same thing as well. So I do get a chance to introduce the game to a lot of people, which is one incredibly rewarding thing about doing these streams. And if you want a chance to sort of see some of the new stuff, as soon as I know if/when I'm allowed to say when that thing is happening. I'm pretty sure I'm allowed to say that it is happening, and apologies if I don't. I will not reference it too many times. Yeah, it'll be a chance if you want to sort of see the game, you know, kind of confronting brand new content and working through it. That'll be a great opportunity, and more importantly, you can be one of the raving fanatics inside of the Steam chat, encouraging all the other people to buy, so that Weather Factory can continue making wonderful games like this. So Stag Riddle is the same as it was many streams ago. What must open before the way opens? Where was I with work? So I was kind of hoping I'd get an influence from the... I was kind of hoping I would get an influence from the... the Mansis, but... That's the plan. As always, Captain Shield, until I have a locked-in time for that sort of thing, and I am interested in doing it, and I think, Weather Factory has certainly been very, very kind in their words about it. So it's mostly just a matter of making everything work. One small opinion I have on this myself is that for a while, because people have not picked up on the fact that streaming games on Steam is actually a really good way to sell them. I think I'm just going to go to the Gaiety Club. Well, see, that's going to suck up my health for... Well, but I'll have the 2.4, so let's go back to the Gaiety Club. I'll be able to rip up the restlessness from that. But I think more developers are kind of catching on to the fact that Steam is a really good way to sell games. And so I noticed that the number of people watching a game at any given time is going up. So where previously we could sort of rely on the fact that we would make the front page of Steam and then more people would be exposed to the game, I'm becoming a little bit more pessimistic about my ability to pull that off. And in reality, this has never been about my ability to pull that off. It really is the cultist community coming out and watching the game and sort of boosting those numbers that way. And then either for my green eyes and sexual charisma or whatever else it is, they're able to stay long enough to kind of let those numbers grow. And that's great for exposure for Cultist Simulator, and it's been wonderful for exposure for me. But the thing I don't know what happens is when it becomes competitive, like it does on Twitch, I don't necessarily know if there is a value add that I give by streaming it anymore. I love sharing the game with people, and I will continue to share the game with people. But if it turns out that my streaming the game is preventing them from getting somebody who would be more effective at bringing in an audience, then what I should be doing is coming up with a recommendation in terms of how we can either balance that time better, or they should be finding somebody who can help them sell. Assuming that's the intention behind the streams. I mean, there is something to be said for just showing people the game, showing people your enthusiasm for it, and they can make a purchasing decision on their own. I don't speak on behalf of Weather Factory. I just happen to be able to do these wonderful little opportunities to stream the game. So that's one of the reasons, if I sound a little cagey on it, number one, it's until something happens and I get a green light to say it's going on. I never want to count things before they hatch. But number two, I'm also a little conscious in terms of the fact that the environment's shifting a little bit in terms of how those streams work. And so I want to make sure that my enthusiasm for streaming the game doesn't necessarily translate into into maybe a long-term deficit in terms of attention for the game. So how do you follow me on Steam? That's a great question, Tall Man Alive. I don't know if you can. My Steam username is SystemJock, but I don't think it gives you alerts when I'm streaming. So the best way to find that is to check out Twitter. The best thing, if you're not following Weather Factory already, follow them, and they'll announce when whatever stream is coming up. So that'll probably be the best way. If you follow Weather Factory on Twitter, they will announce whatever streams. And that way, if I'm not the one streaming, you don't need to worry. They'll be able to let you know anybody that they bring up. But by the way, that does not mean that if I will still continue to stream this game, whether it's on Steam or whether it's on here, no matter what. Because I like this game a lot, and Weather Factory are remarkably cool people, so I want to do that. All right, I don't know if it's Hebe or Hebe is a ship. In fact, many ships have borne that name over the centuries. All of them have provided transport and accommodation to those who know something of the invisible world, and none of them show up in shipping records. But I've learnt that the steamer Hebe Stanton is docking soon in a grimy and unregarded port on a northern island. I could send someone to purloin unwatched occult luggage. A battered but surprisingly plush steamer, it's not streamer, used much by actors fleeing scandal, but shy millionaires by occult scholars who feel safer when with moving water under them, and just once by the Legia Club, who chartered the whole ship for the use of 7 cabins. I don't know if until I die, Captain Shield, but I am... One of the biggest... So there's 2 big things that have kept me coming back to this game. One of it, when I first streamed it, it was obviously because I really liked the ideas behind it, and I thought it was a lot of fun. I think I'm gonna bring in a forge. Well, hang on. So what's in here? The monks dislike visitors. Their ways are not exactly orthodox. I probably should bring more edge. Rose, you're up. So yeah, the ideas behind the game were really appealing to me, and the fact that people started coming in and getting into it, we were able to share some of the ideas and the themes about the game, and obviously I was able to talk a lot about sort of how this relates to, in my opinion, all about going to school. You know, that kind of kept me coming back, and then once Weather Factory sort of reached out, if you've not heard them on like a podcast or one of their broadcasts or something like that, Alexis Kennedy and Lottie Bevan are impossibly friendly and just very cool people. They almost make me feel bad as a human because they are so nice and talented and just really engaged. So it's been an absolute joy to stream this game. This is one of the cases where really a community has given me a reason to kind of keep pushing forward with it, even though I know I wind up babbling over the chat so much. So this game is confusing but good. I agree completely, Massimo Goma. I love the confusion about it. So, Fermier Abbey, folded into the forest like a jewel box smuggled in a green robe. If we can make it through the forest, we'll have to face the monks. Expeditions need at least 1 funds per obstacle. Okay, so that with that right up, it makes me think I actually need lantern instead of edge. So, what am I doing? That's not lantern. Pope Clifton. On we go. And yes, I will try and be a little bit better at keeping the progress going, but because I'm not all headachy and awful, you know what, this is gonna unravel pretty quickly. I need to maximize the number of lanterns that are coming up, so I'm no further along my path of change. In the movements of the secret forms, I must find my lesson. So we've got restlessness now. I've probably blown it with my erudition book. Okay, so we've got peril-prowled forest. Long ago, the primal trees marched from sea to sea. Some traces of their reign still survive. Like this dense and choking territory of root and thorn, the practicalities of... Damn it. Lantern is useless. Okay, so it should have been forge. We will carry on. Yeah, I think my effort to get my skill up is sort of unraveled, and I'm going to wind up chasing this erudition, but we'll see. In the worst case scenario, oh Jesus, this game's been merciless with the restlessness. Okay, so I don't think I can. Yeah, I can't double this up, unfortunately. If I do just a raw reason on its own, well, there's nothing else really for me to do with this study, so we're just going to get on that treadmill and do our best. Orchard of Lights. Pulsing airs. Good news. That'll give me something to do for work. So, a rising power, a reassuring energy, a 6th order influence. Significant resonances or correspondences. This can be used in some rites to summon minions, and you all know what minion's coming up. The hours have been called unmerciful, but they will permit sleepers sometimes to walk in the orchard of lights, where each fruit grows like a sunset, where the roots of trees are shaped for peaceful rest, and where the mist soothes the heart. I was there last night, and the taste of fruit lingers, sharp and sweet, as the passage of spring to summer. Okay, so we've got the white door back. We have promoted Porter. Wait, Porter is a moth. That's actually good because Elizabeth and Sylvia both have 2 wounds, I believe. Oh no, Sylvia only has 1, so. You guys are playing this game and not reading. This is it's a crime. One of the things that I like the most about this game, actually. Oh, sorry, this book. Yeah, no, I was thinking in terms of the reading of the game. One of the things I like the most about the writing is because the game keeps its secrets pretty close. I really like the fact that you can be very familiar with this game and you can just kind of flip through the text at your own peril. If you ignore it, you potentially miss out on kind of the hint for the next phase, or you get these little bits of lore. Like, I think the last couple of streams have revealed that I don't know as much of the lore, or at least there's a bit of me that does not like speaking with any degree of authority on things that I'm not absolutely certain about. So even if somebody says, well, what's a long and what's an hour? I can tell you that things like The Watchmen is an hour, but that doesn't necessarily come up with a full definition. So one of the nice things about this is that this game holds enough just out of reach that it does reward sort of reading and rereading, and you get to enjoy. I always like to say, learning is the ultimate roguelike, because it's not just a matter that the game is giving you more tools to get better at the game with. It's that you yourself are improving over time. It's your continued play is what's allowing you to sort of get all that equipment, that mental equipment, or that technology to face the dragon at the end. So, oh great, that's great to hear. Tall Man Alive. Sorry, I don't like being too self-promotional about stuff, so I don't like. Well, if you'd seen my tutorial, I was reluctant even to do something like a tutorial because there isn't a tutorial in this game for a reason. But I sort of feel like I at least carried the spirit of what was, why there isn't a tutorial in the game, if not the actual, the rule. Okay, the forest enfolds us, but we are practical souls, strong in forge. We'll probably be fine. I don't want to be probably fine. Mike, you're in. Forge is ingenious, Forge is ruthless. We'll almost certainly make it through. Whenever the principle of heart is implicated, I may gain vitality. Now, if only I could do that with Lantern. Alright, so the stage awaits hot and clean and bare and bright. If I move the moves and step the steps and do what is required, they will pay me. So didn't have an opportunity to lose the restlessness. The big problem now, so do I allow this to turn into dread? But at the cost of losing the pulsing airs, or do I run the risk of despair coming up? So I know here that it's going to be fascination next, so I'm okay there. Of course, if it's dread next, then I'm in trouble, but my dreams should be available. So in this particular case, I'm going to do... I think the sunset right will take us this far, so... And... oh, right, you can't use the... I think this invocation should be enough. And then it would be edge for the percussagant, so... Yes! The percussagant, merciless and merry, heart will bring it, edge will constrain it. And for those of you who are new to the channel, the next few minutes will be very strange. But, oh, excellent, okay. I've received the currency of the secret world, and my patron has let tantalizing information slip. Okay, so I've got some mystique here. So in 20 seconds, this is going to turn into an erudition. We'll double this up. Okay, so this gets doubled up to a full erudition. When this one decays, I can double the existing. Yes, we will be able to get our our next level of reason. But who do I want to talk with? Nobody. I want to let loose with the Smith's Secret and see if we can get another follower. Apologies, by the way, Tallman Alive, if this winds up being a little spoilery. I do like to try and give voice to my reasons for doing things. So I won't necessarily explicitly say, because I know X, I'm going to do this. And this is still technically my first full trying to get an Ascension playthrough of the Dancers, so I don't really know what's going on. But I know this is not always friendly to people who want to go in totally blind. All right, my own heart pumps more strongly today. More restlessness, the same self. I am no further along my path of change. In the movements of the secret forms, I must find my lesson. Okay, so I can only get rid of the dread with contentment. Once the summoning is done, I should have enough time away from the Gaiety Club that I can paint away the restlessness. Maybe that will give me contentment, maybe that won't. And then I can get rid of the dread that way, so... Words contain knowledge, now I contain it. It's a little like theft, and a little like feasting, and a little like the progress of an infectious disease. Okay, so I think this was the worst off, so these two double. So basically the idea is 60 for this, 60 for the other two, and then we can do the upgrade. Let's go back to the Orchard of Lights. Okay, so the intensity of radiance is going to be a little dangerous if I don't do something with it. So light dews the skin and suffuses the air. The one real dilemma that I have with this one is the fact that I've got sort of my work slots dealt with for the next little while. So as it mentions here in the intensity of radiance, this can be used in some rites to summon minions. If unused, it will become Fascination. So this is going to decay from level 6 down below, but I have 45 seconds for Fascination to pop up, and then suddenly things could go very badly for me. I think I probably will be able to get by without... I think even if I just kind of let this thing expire on its own, I think I might be able to get through. Of course, the Season of Despair is upon me, and I don't think I will have my contentment in time to deal with that, so one way or the other I'm in trouble. But we'll work with it. The big dilemma that I have is this particular restlessness, which, if that turns into dread, I'm one negative trait away from the end of the game. So, the invisible arts, Christopher Loppley is said to have remarked, are as profitable as macrame, as ethical as tobacco smuggling, and in general as beneficial as roulette. Still, there's always the Orchard of Lights, and indeed the orchard, with its glowing fruit and its peaceful mists, is a place to be yearned for. Last night I walked there in the peaceful hours of the deep night. Even after waking, I still carry with me a little of the glory of the old sun. Okay. So I think the way I'm going to deal with where I find myself right now... So the real question is if I'm going to need health or... the question is if I'm going to need health or the ability to use that dream slot in the next 45 seconds or so. I don't really think I will, but I'm gonna hedge my bets and I'll just do a quick nap. Expedition plans. Oh yeah, I didn't get to hear the end of the forest, so... There's something up ahead. We've made it through the forest. Expedition plans for the next challenge. It'll consume funds. I can add funds now, or I could send another follower. So in this case, monks, contemplatives, blessed or condemned to service here. They're bound by their curious vows. We can murder them or deceive them, but they will not be seduced. So I didn't really bring a lot of moth with me. I did bring a lot of edge. And I know this is really close to the Tall Man Alive. Thank you very much for those bits. That's very kind of you. I know it's not the... I know this is skirting the edge of my I don't kill people. I don't deliberately order the deaths of people. If there happen to be edge followers and hints and other things that, you know, bring the pain, I'm not responsible for their individual actions. So that's very kind of you to say, Tall Man Alive. I jump between being okay with where I am to utterly despairing in the fact that I am a hack and I'm completely incapable of doing anything resembling like a normal stream. So it does actually mean a lot for it does mean a lot to get those little bits of support, even if they're like, whether they're bits or not. Just the kind word, I cannot stress enough, is something that keeps me going. I know it sometimes feels very repetitive, and I don't want to become sort of this maniac for sort of the validation of you know, others on the internet or that. But it is, you know, I've been doing this for a while, and it is very easy to sort of focus on numbers or something like that, to just have the occasional kind word, especially because sometimes when you put stuff on YouTube, people tend to be a little nasty, or they tend to be backseaty or something like that, and I try to tune it out as much as I can, but getting a bit of a counterbalance from people in chat is always nice. So thank you very much. I'm a perfect Lovecraftian protagonist. I haven't read that much Lovecraft. I have the Mountains of Madness. This is the problem, is that like I'm really bad at like meeting any of the stereotypes for like I didn't really like Sunless Sea that much when I first played it. It took me focused effort to get into it. So what can be classified as a normal stream? I don't know, something that like gets okay, well, I've got double digits now. I don't even have an answer for normal stream, Captain Shield. I think I'm just being it's ridiculous. All right, first the thump, the rattle and cry of the ceremonies it attends in the wood. Now here it is, shouldering its way through the world's skin, like a clawed and ruthless uncle or a headless flapping bear. And you guys know the official canonical sound of the percussigan, right? Percussigan. The percussigan, it loves the sistrum's It loves the sistrum's shiver, it loves the thrum of the tympanos, it recalls with fondness the flaying of Marsyas, so it will not stop dancing. I am forever a great lover and a kind of a devotee of the Mirror of Glory. It is the finest cult, and Lantern is the most awesome of all of the aspects. But I have come to appreciate the power and specifically the writing of Heart. If you have not taken the time to read all of the Heart lore and things like the percussigan and that, please do take the time to do so. It is some of my favorite writing in this game for sure. So let's go to the Gaiety No, wait a minute. Let's paint. So I am gonna wind up losing things at the Gaiety, but that's fine because I can just plead for the job. And I think in this one I just need to throw all my passion at it. I don't have any mystique. This is going to be one of these. This particular mood piece is going to be something that you'd find on itch.io. Like, this isn't Cultist Simulator. It's SE Knight, so yeah, the Eyes of Sin and SE Knight are in very good company. Grail's, Grail's alright, but I mean, let's just face it, Mirror of Glory is the best. There can only be one best, and it's not that, it's leg shirts. I'm actually wearing a shirt that I really like right now. I think I look very dashing in it. And I say that because I know you can't see me. No, it's a totally normal shirt. I got this very inexpensively from a place called Joe Fresh, which I would have sworn based off of that name that it was something that, like, it was a place that sells expensive sandwiches or something like that. But it turns out it is actually a clothing shop. I like this shirt very much, and I don't hate the other shirts. But this is my best shirt. It is my mirror of glory of shirts, you might say. Domi's internet, please start working so she can watch the stream. Thank you. Oh, there's always a VOD, but I do feel bad that Domi's not able to see this. Man, there's a lot of Grail followers inside here. The body horror of Grail is glorious. It's hard to argue with that. And again, it's not to say that Grail is bad. It's just Lantern. Alright, I could spend money on better paints, or perhaps I could find more exotic pigments. No need for exotic pigments, or just throw money at the problem like we usually do. And yes, actually, Teleman Alive, thank you very much for the comments on the voice. This will be a fun little bit. I know normally the biographical stuff that I share is from, well, you know what, so the funny thing about this is there is a way you can model this in Cultist Simulator. But here is, I've told the stories a couple of times about how I got into streaming, but if you want to know the most direct way that I went from having no interest whatsoever in doing any kind of broadcast to wanting to do something, it actually started with my microeconomics professor. So I was originally a research assistant for him. We would dapple the earth with holy blood. And I'm pretty sure, in this case I'm adding the percussigan not because I need the extra power, but just because I want to keep his... Hey, Sir Tristan Live! Thank you very much for that follow. I have been benefiting from some lovely hosts that you have been giving me, I think ever since Stellaris, when you were doing an early copy of Megacorps. It's great to have you inside here. For those of you who don't know him, we hosted Sir Tristan Live back when Megacorp was still about a week away from release, and I'd been given this incredibly generous, yeah, I'm a top tier streamer. I can turn like a 200-person host into a 50-person host, which we wound up giving to Sir Tristan Live. But welcome. Sir Tristan, have you ever played Cultist Simulator? Have you heard of this? Because this actually has a connection to Stellaris, believe it or not. I'm not sure if it's Moth or Heart paths in Dancer. I believe you can do both, can't you? And we've got, what was it? The Eyes of Sin. You're more of indulging deeply in the pleasures of the flesh, a mantis lover, a yearning sanguine to sip the forbidden wine from the warm veins of a beating heart. Yeah, but Mirror of Glory is good. You have played it, you're awful at it. There is no awful at it. This is a game to be experienced and to be savored. So you get to the first stream every time and then falter. Well, I mean, to me, the enjoyment that I had about Cultist Simulator and continue to have about Cultist Simulator is the ability to always find something new inside of it. Okay, so this is the dread that we were expecting. Hopefully the painting will address that. And I know I was talking a little bit about how I got over being insecure about my voice to... oh, you know what? We might still be able to make Curtain at the Gaiety. My mind, the library. And we've got more than 60 seconds to upgrade this erudition into another lesson learnt, and then we'll be able to turn this into further scholarship. But yeah, it's never been about being good at the game for me personally. It's just been about being able to kind of go along for the ride and just to sort of... I kind of like the fact that basically, and I've said this so many times, like the confusion that your character feels is the confusion you feel as a player. And I find that a really interesting and very satisfying way of playing the game. And it's one of the things that kind of keeps me coming back. Oh, wow. A fascination for some reason. glimmering bunch of Mystique. What's going on? But yeah, I don't know. It's my ability to kind of keep coming back, and you know, I get to learn new things about the game every time I play. I get to read, and because I have some knowledge from before, all of a sudden a new line sort of makes has a new resonance to me or something like that. It's why I keep returning. It's actually one of the reasons why, you know, some people ask like, well, is there, you know, how replayable is it? It's like, well, and actually the interesting thing is some people ask you, this is a good example in terms of where you can, it's almost like good feedback and bad feedback. You'll have some people say, is this randomized? And what they mean to ask is this game replayable? The game is replayable because there's more lore to learn about, there's new relationships to learn about in the game, there's different ascensions, and there's more ascensions that are being brought in. But if they ask, is everything randomized? No. Well, yes, in the sense that what you get from expeditions used to be sort of randomized, but that's not really what they're asking. It's like, you know, do you have different paths to go through each time? And that's fixed. But obviously you have lots of different things to go through. And even if you get an ascension victory, it doesn't necessarily mean you know what the hell is going on. You know, I guess the comparison that I could make is whether you're an artist or whether you're a scientist or whether you're both. You know, Newton and Einstein certainly saw much further than you know, anybody at their time, but neither of them had a full picture of what was going on in the world. And I think you can make a very similar case for Cultist Simulator, which is that you know, you're given a bunch of very tantalizing glimpses at this world sort of underneath the game, but it never gives you anything outright. It gives you tons of connections to do. One of the things I've actually, so I always hate announcing these projects because it makes me feel like I'm kind of committed to finally doing them. But one of the things I was actually going to do was I was going to take all of the text in the game, I was going to put like a big map of all the different concepts and how they sort of connect to each other inside the game and where you see them sort of in proximity to each other. In terms of my background with econ, some of the stuff that I used to do was textual analysis. So you could do things like the congressional record, or for those of you who don't know, in the case of legislation in the United States, if they're doing like, let's say, a regulatory change, like the Dodd-Frank legislation was what I did this on, there's a comment period and anyone can comment on it. So in this particular case, what we were doing was we were taking all of these things that people were writing, and we were doing sort of this textual analysis to see things like, you know, are there certain people, like, are there certain groups whose language tends to reflect very closely in the final legislation? So, you know, this is sort of another form of lobbying, for instance. And so you can pull some concepts from that. I wouldn't be doing like a full econometric analysis of the text of Cultist Simulator. I'm not that big of a nerd, but to be able to take a few of those ideas and some of the ways that we wind up linking concepts, you can do this for patents, you can do this for finding partisan phrases and things like the congressional record or the Hansard. You know, there's lots of different ways of applying these ideas, and I think it would actually be a really interesting way of looking at Cultist Simulator, because what you can do there, once you find these associations, you should be able to draw a big graph to show all of the connections between these different ideas. And there's two really there's usually two cool cases you wind up with. One, you get this full sort of picture of what you already know about the lore, in which case it's like, oh wow, that's so cool that just by analyzing the words, we were able to identify these relationships that we knew for ourselves. So it doesn't teach you much about the game, but it does give you a device to sort of visually represent some of the things that you already knew. But the other really cool case is where you have those connections that you thought, but then you find new ones that you didn't really think about before. And those are the really exciting ones, because then you start sort of saying, it's like, okay, so what is it in the text that the algorithm picked up, but we were missing? And, you know, sometimes it means you did a bad job and, you know, you maybe went a little bit further than you should have with a particular idea. But sometimes you find some really cool stuff. And so the problem is I'm not really good at doing visualizations like that. So I've been trying to teach myself some of that. Anyways, sorry. Let me catch up with chat for a little. This is definitely not a normal stream of a 31-year-old acting like a 17-year-old with blue hair. Yeah, there's no colored hair on this stream, or heads or arms or anything along those lines. It's kind of stream you like and how you stream. Super chill, talk about life and things, and die a ton in video games. Actually, Sir Tristan, I know I shouted you out as a Stellaris streamer, but would you mind... I don't know your stream as well, because I do think we tend to cast at slightly different times. So I have seen you play Stellaris, but I haven't seen the other stuff that you do. Would you mind giving people a little bit of an elevator pitch for your own stream? Because I feel like you've been really supportive of mine through your far more consistent hosts than I think I've been able to give you. But I also don't want to be one of those, kind of slimy types who wants to pretend friendship where one doesn't exist. Would you mind giving maybe a slightly better pitch for people? So I think the biggest thing I'd like is if you could have more people watching your stuff. And I know I'm not going to be the vehicle through which that happens. So Victor is a sly fellow, and he knows an unusual opportunity when he sees it. I'm sorry, I did forget to do that for Porter, so we will see the development of Victor as things go along. What else do we have? So I can talk with Victor again to upgrade him, or we can talk with Dr. Adim and get a new commission. I think we will. I think we'll bring Victor into the fold. Victor, I'd like to tell you about the Temple Unceasing. And what am I going to do about the fascination? I think in 20 seconds after I go through the white door, we'll double up the fascination. We'll be okay. It's still a season of despair. Need to figure out what I'm doing with the dread, but we'll work with that later. All right, I've got so many threads that I opened up. So I'll try and get back to that nice comment about my voice. So I was originally hired as an RA for this microprof, and it was mostly just kind of for coding. The guy really loved using PHP for everything. And I'm not at all knowledgeable about PHP, but I pick stuff up reasonably quickly. Oof. That's a kick in the nuts. Last night, in the billowing blue of the Lodge of the Sage Knight, I sat on velvet cushions and watched two dead contend with shining swords. They came with the place, said the woman who rules here now, the one who once called herself Gallagher. I was not the Sage Knight, if that's what you're wondering. He went higher in the Mansus, long before I came here. My attention is drifted. The swords sparkle like falling water. The dead move like dancers. So I could, in theory, use this for the Moth influence, but I don't have a lot of opportunities to use Moth, so... we will nullify at least a little bit of this. So mostly just whatever you feel like. Stellaris is another big one. Okay. I always like to give people, when I don't know a streamer well enough to say what they regularly do, I do like to give, does make me feel a little bad for not doing my homework, but I do like taking the opportunity to sort of say what they like. So their bodies lie in robed huddles, each indistinguishable from the next. Step over and move on. Usually strategy, RPG, and slow-paced things. Have you played Sunless Sea then, Sir Tristan? Because I did a little bit of it on stream, but I actually haven't done as much. The ceremony is resonant as thunder in a church. I know it well. I wrote it myself. Victor is a sly fellow, but loyal. And I think here I'm just going to take advantage of the fact that I've got an empty chat. And where were we? My follower will kneel as a novice and rise as an initiate. I will administer the necessary oaths myself. Yes, Fallen London does take place in the same world as Sunless Sea. I got into Sunless Sea a lot more after I played Fallen London. Okay, so let's think a little bit. I've got 9 seconds left on this Consciousness of Radiance. But the thing is, I don't know if I really have a lot of opportunities to use this. So let's say this is the... so I'll use this with offering. You can try to conquer your passion with reason. Don't really want to give up passion. So... I definitely can't use Forge for this, so maybe Rose will be enough. Yeah, I don't have enough Lantern for this, so... But... Oh, you know what? I think if I paint this, I just sustain it. Let's find out. If nothing else, it'll potentially give me some contentment. Oh yeah, so you need to learn that lore before you step out for a while. So I did a bit of coding for him, but one of the things was there was this service that we were doing. It's kind of a service for helping economists who had just graduated to get, basically to find work, to get in touch with, with programs that were hiring. And they wanted to have sort of a tutorial for using the service. And so, it's like, okay, who's going to make this video? I'm like, well, I've already coded the stuff, and I at least knew about OBS. I'd already been moderating for a few channels, so I did this, and I gave a sample recording. And all of a sudden, like the day after I submitted the example, the one thing I was told, actually, you know what? I'm sorry to put the hold on it, but I bet I can find that video. Hello. Oh, hello to you too. Well, it's privately hosted, but I can probably play it on stream. It shouldn't take too long. But there were two things. So one, yeah, here we go. So I didn't have my microphone or anything like that at the time. Oh, this is the third one. I think this'll work. So yeah, I did this with this was done on my laptop, and I had like a gaming headset that I won in a Dota 2 tournament. Oh, I haven't seen that, Sir Tristan. If you have a link for it, you can feel free to drop that in the chat. But there are two things that happened. So one, I got a statement which was, can you make some music for this? So you guys will also get to hear the music that was designed for this, which is by me, and it is nothing. It does the job. There were no complaints about the music, but you are going to laugh when you hear the music. And then number one was with a day after this thing came out, I kept hearing these stories about this guy with a really nice voice, and then I found out that they were talking about me. And that was one of the things that actually drove me to do the charity broadcast. Anyways, this is the video, the first one that I did that my microprof essentially kind of had me do, and put me down this very funny path.
Welcome to Hire. Hire is part of Econ Job Market, a centralized database designed to collect and distribute applications to the economics job market. This database has been designed to minimize the cost of managing all the application materials and eliminate the process of submitting the same application to multiple websites run by independent companies or universities. The Hire program is designed to give you a way to make use of the Econ Job Market database and have a rich set of tools for processing and analyzing the applications that you receive. In this video, we'll illustrate the experience a faculty member may have as they go about the process of evaluating application material. Specifically, we'll show you how to sort applications so you can focus on the ones that you need, how to rate them, how to assign responsibility for an application to a different user, and how to request comments from other users. To begin with, I'm going to clear my preferences to make sure that I have access to everything. The resulting screen should look a little something like what I might see at the end of recruiting season, with a list that's being populated gradually as the applications come in. This means that I'm likely to have applications for multiple positions, and so I can start narrowing my search to the specific position that I'm looking for. I do this by clicking on the job title itself. For the moment, I'm going to be looking for new applicants which have a heavy focus on micro. I can specify these preferences by selecting the fields in the drop-down menu, starting with New, and then clicking Find Users like this. In addition, I'll select Microeconomics in the same way, select it in the drop-down menu, and click on Find Users like this. Now 156 applications might be a little unwieldy, so I can further narrow my preferences down to people who can do microeconomic theory, and again, I select that in the drop-down menu and click on Find Users like this. 76 applications is a little bit more manageable, and right now I have them sorted by application date. But what I'm interested in this particular case are the accounts that have been assigned to me specifically, and so I can resort this list by clicking on Assigned. I see that I have one account that's been assigned to me, and so I'll access it directly by clicking on its ID number. I can see that a comment has been left on the account, and I'll investigate it by clicking on Show Details to see the extra information on that account. Because it was talking about completeness, the best place to really start looking is at the CV, and so I click on that particular file ID. And as the comment kind of indicated, we don't really have a complete CV on file, and so I know what the problem is. I also know that Shervin handles applications like this, and so what I want to do now is assign it to him and make sure that he's aware. I'll start by going back to the browser, and then I'll click on Rate This Candidate. In order to move it from myself over to Shervin, I select him under Choose or Change User Responsible for this file. I now have enough information to call this file Needs Info as well, and so I'll select that under our drop-down menu. Next, I have a little bit more information, and so I'll add another comment to say exactly what's going wrong. I'll save my comment, and finally I want to make sure that Shervin is aware that he needs to do some extra work on it. I do this by clicking on Request a Comment at the very bottom of the screen. Finally, I just need to make sure that Shervin is aware of it, so I select him at the bottom of the drop-down menu. This concludes the navigation tutorial. Since reference letters appear automatically once they are received and are accessed just like CVs, you are now equipped to work with any applications that have been assigned to you or any applications that you seek out. This software is based on Drupal, a well-known content management system. If you're familiar with Drupal, you will have an easy time configuring your system in a way that makes your application material available to users in the internet in a secure way. If not, you may want to view our additional tutorials on how to configure your rating system and how to make faculty or recruiting committee members users of Drupal so that they can view application materials securely.
So needless to say, we've come a long way from the higher tutorial videos. And I much prefer Mickey Moore Productions music. But look, I was hired for my econ ability, not for my reading. But again, people said nice things about the voice, so I really did not like the sound of hearing my recorded voice. And obviously, I've gotten a little bit better at reading prepared material. But that sort of got me over my hang-ups of having a recorded. So one of the big things for me was that I can obviously broadcast without watching my stuff again. But you can't get better without doing that. I do actually review my videos, and I'm sort of like, okay, that's a part where I screwed up. That's a part where I probably should cut the fat, and so on and so forth. But there was definitely a point where I don't know, like I really needed to kind of get over sort of my insecurity over my voice. And so, you know, getting the nice comments on those tutorial videos, as ridiculous as they are, happened to be enough that sort of, I believe that year actually, I wound up doing the charity stream. So there is the secret lost video of how I started doing this. So yeah, no, it's pretty well known that people don't like the sound of their own voice, but I will follow in the footsteps of the Watchmen. So sorry for those of you who are here purely for the for the Cultist Simulator stuff. But actually, you know what? I'm gonna take a quick minute here because I've already derailed everything. I'm gonna blast through a bunch of shoutouts really quickly. So we had Johnny Big Time rate us at the beginning. Now, Johnny had a particularly tough night tonight, so be nice to him. Johnny is easily my favorite broadcaster on Twitch. He has got an amazing personality, a larger-than-life personality. I actually happen to know he has been killing some personal goals that he's been going towards. He did not wait for New Year's to start trying to do some new things in his life, and he has been just doing some stuff that I personally cannot fathom. So a bit of congratulations for that. But he has been doing The Witcher. He went through the end of the first Witcher. I liked this because he basically swore an oath of enmity against Wolfenstein: The New Order because he played it on Uber difficulty, not wanting to be outdone by yours truly, and he definitely did not have a good time with the final battle with Death's Head. And needless to say, the agony that was the closing of The Witcher was enough to replace that happy memory in the list of all-time lows for Johnny's gaming career with The Witcher. So that was wonderful. But no, Johnny has done my favorite XCOM broadcast. He has done some great Battlefield and some great Call of Duty streams. He's a lot more action-packed than me. I think one of the things that I love so much is that Johnny has got a great charisma in terms of his broadcasts, but he's able to keep the action going, whereas I'm definitely a lot more ponderous in my tone. Like, essentially, it's a podcast with the occasional game being played in the background. He's incredibly fun to be around. I love being able to play some games with him. We've done Chaos Reborn together. We played a little Diablo recently, and hopefully I'm going to be able to snag the Eyes of Sin into that. What else have we played, Johnny? Oh, we did Dying Light. That was a lot of fun, actually. We beat the crap out of somebody with tire irons and such. Johnny has done an onion cutting stream, which was a lot of fun to watch because he had the one tunyon. And just overall, he's fun on cast, he's fun off cast, and somebody who's been remarkably supportive of me, as well as some streamers that I know as well. So definitely do check him out. I also want to take a minute, and I don't think Sean S. LeBlanc, who's inside of chat, has a Twitch page, but I am following him on Itch now, so I should be able to find his page. So I like following up Johnny with Sean because Sean has a tremendous charisma in person. He gave some feedback. So I met Sean at a local game dev collective called Dirty Rectangles, and it winds up being basically the reason I don't do Cultist Simulator every third Wednesday. It's held in this really cool sort of Russian bar. It's got a bunch of sort of Soviet era kind of art and posters in the area. It's run by a very nice guy named Alexei. And basically a bunch of local developers take the opportunity to talk about something that they're interested in. Actually, Sean, if you're around, I was debating on presenting something, but it's on board games. So if you want, we can talk on Twitter or something like that. But I'm curious if that is something that will be welcome or if it should be focused on actually like a game that has been made rather than. It's basically just a quick little thing on Board Game Geek. Anyway, I'll save that for another time. But yeah, so some of the feedback that Sean gave to a game was that it's like, if you weren't here describing this, it'd be sort of difficult to imagine. I'm paraphrasing. And he was completely open about, it's like, this is something that can be said about my stuff too, so I feel a little uncomfortable giving it. But so one, he's very supportive of the other projects that kind of come in, and he gives good feedback, but he is very prolific. I don't think there has been a Dirty Rectangles I've been to where he hasn't had a new thing to show, and he puts them all on that itch.io website. So if you go there, definitely check them out. I can remember where he reached sort of the supervillain status with definitely a real MMO. I think this one is just spectacular. But yeah, it's I'm just trying to think of some of the other ones that I did play. I actually thought Holiday Yarn looked so cool. Judgment is the most recent one that I played. I'm actually going to try and do Judgment. Actually, maybe I should get the opinion of which one I should play on cast at the end of this one. But I don't have a Twitch page to recommend for Sean. But Sean, in addition to the fact that he is a pretty active participant in this game dev collective, he's really supportive of the other people who are there. So it's one of these cases where I'm more so interested in the process through which people do these creative things. When I was in film, I worked in camera, which to me I think allows for some creative expression, but it allows creative expression in the confines of what's physically possible. You need to make sure enough light is hitting the CCD or the CMOS sensor or the silver halide or whatever happens to be picking up the light. You need to make sure that the lights are in places that don't burn down the place. There's a really expensive club we were shooting in. I had nothing to do with the lighting of that one. I was very happy because all I needed to worry about was making sure the camera didn't get wet when some idiot decided to put a really hot light right beside the fire alarm, and sure enough, we completely soaked this club. That is why film productions have tons of insurance, by the way. But yeah, I think one of the things that interests me is I'm fascinated by the people who do the creative stuff where I sort of feel that they don't have as many constraints. So like when you sit down, it is in theory no more expensive to set, a Bitsy game or like a small game on the moon than it is to put it in somebody's apartment. And so I'm fascinated by watching these people and sort of the ideas that they come up with. And there was Hexagon Falls, which I know is titled to something else and I can't remember right now. There have been a couple of more sort of card-driven battle games. There's one which kind of seems to be a little bit... I always keep wanting to ask them if they've played Frozen Synapse, because I actually think that's what their game is most similar to. But one way or another, there's a lot of creativity, a lot of really interesting people presenting things. And usually if you hang around and it's the fourth week of the month, I usually have one or two interesting things that I saw that I get to share with you. So that is Sean. He's not a streamer, but he's definitely somebody I'd encourage you to check out, especially if you like things like Cultist Simulator, because I found Cultist Simulator through itch. Admittedly, because Alexis mentioned it it was on itch, but there you have it. What else? The Mech RPG. Yes. It wasn't even a company that I worked for. It was actually a specific professor. Well, no, I guess it technically is a company that I was working for, but Domi, it's probably not that far back in the VOD, but yeah, I'm sorry, I don't think I can put myself through watching that again. So, anyways, that was kind of a half-hearted endorsement of Sean, but please do check out his stuff. It's really cool. And Sean, if you have one you want to recommend that I'll play at the end, I'll probably do Judgment in the absence of any other recommendations, but I want to show you guys some of his work. Who else did I have in here that I was meaning to shout out? I'll just take a quick minute here and mention the people who are hosting me right now. Nubasaur42, Captain Shield 616, Johnny Big Time, The Sleepbringer, Ulster Fighter, Unknown Brigade, Flofi, Kaylee Cakes, Mr. Franz, Inferno Fowler, and Sir Tristan Live. Sir Tristan also gave us a follow today, so thank you for that. Oh, last but not least, The Eyes of Sin is a very dear friend of mine, somebody I like hanging out with, and I think if you all clap very loudly, you'll bring her stream back to life, and you'll be able to see her lovely face and watch her play games like Pokemon or Super Brothers Sword and Sorcery, which is a Canadian game and is wonderful. And she does stream. She actually has far more people watching her on any given cast than I do. And that's because she is a darling and also helps a lot of other people on Twitch. She knows a lot more important people than I do. So judgment themes thematically appropriate. All right, I'll keep with that then. And yes, I believe we have everyone. Unless Domi, do you stream? All right, I think we're good. Oh, actually, one more thing to mention. Eyes of Sin also did these. And especially for my favorite one, System 1 HMM. For those of you who are watching on YouTube, I just put the emotes for the channel up. For those of you who watch the Arthur Lipset videos, and specifically the one that he did for those 30-second spots, the service work, the one that was found in that video, Au Douvre, The Eyes of Sin did not see that video when she made the System 1 HMM emote, and I could not explain to her why I was so delighted by it, but there's actually a split-second of video in there that's very similar to Arthur Lipset's little animation, and because I like Arthur Lipset so much, I was absolutely floored that I got to have something that looked like that. Oh yes, I absolutely will, Sir Tristan Live. Thank you for that. I actually... I copied it, but I think I might have overwritten the copy for to put Sean's stuff up. So I just opened a new tab with that. So anyway, thank you very much. Yeah, and then of course I shouted out the new blog, which didn't get a lot of attention, which is fine because I know it doesn't talk about gaming stuff. But if you like weird arty things, and why the hell are you here if you don't? Do please check that out, because it's about a Canadian who I think was very influential in even modern films, but nobody but George Lucas knows his name. You should play games and review Brazilian meat. Oh, you mean Domi's stream? That would be wonderful to see. Although I will say, Domi, from my experience in doing Twitch in school, Twitch can really pull you away from work. So, or like doing homework and stuff like that. So make sure if you do stream that you keep to a really strict schedule, because this thing can eat your life. And more importantly too, like even if you don't want to do games, you can definitely do like a just chatting or a science and tech thing if you've got. I know you've got lots of opinions and interesting insights on things, so certainly not going to turn down more voices, particularly more voices from groups that normally don't have an easy time on Twitch. I think would be a. The monks and their miseries lie behind us. Here in their chapel courtyard, a great yew rises beside the granite altar, lidded like a sarcophagus. What's within? Well, the weird thing about it, Domi, I could spend money on better paints, or I could perhaps find more exotic pigments. Again, money solves everything. Addictive is one potential thing. Definitely there's a tendency, like when people really do, like when you get like a lot of comments from people and a lot of attention in that, you can definitely become very focused on numbers. I try to suppress that as much as I can. But it's more so the idea of sort of consistency helps a channel grow. It also will, it also tends to be something that will, like once you have regulars, you kind of don't want to create a disappointment or something like that for them. And so you want to make sure that you're there and maybe you do it a little bit more or what have you. And then sometimes there's things like people who really like your stuff and then they add you on Steam and then they always want to play games. And all of a sudden now you have something that isn't your streaming time where you're spending time with other people. And sometimes that's a little bit about what I was talking about when you have your admirers. This is kind of the example of some people where the relationship kind of winds up going a little bit further than is entirely appropriate for what's going on, but because they wind up being very influential in terms of your ability to derive an income, you sometimes start pushing that line back a little bit further than it can, maybe it should go. So those are some of the examples about ways where it can take a little bit more of your life than you think it does at the point. And it's really just a matter of making sure that you set boundaries for yourself, because in the end, especially if you're in school, like, you're paying for it, and there'll be only certain, there's going to be a fixed amount of time where you're doing exams for things. And yes, it's true that the first job that you work will almost certainly not care what your grade was. I think there's a lot to be said for dedicating yourself to studies and setting yourself up so that when you get outside of school, you're going to be equipped to do your best with your work. So Isaacson says, you like the meme with a sad elderly man who plays cards with his wife but is also a doctor and works in real estate and suffers from gout but also constipation and sometimes grills burgers. Hide the pain, Harold. You need to show me an image of that, because I think I know who you're talking about, Isaacson, but I'm not 100%. The space inside the altar is filled with broken cups, everyone painted red, everyone scrawled with vile graffiti and otherwise befouled. The monks must have held great ceremonies of is it detestation? Yeah. And kept the remains as trophies. Buried among the cup corpses are other treasures. So one for Cusigan, one notoriety. All right, I gotta file everyone back. Okay, Eldridge is my knife guy. This is Mike Laidlaw of former BioWare fame. Got my hint. And we have got the Thirsting Tantra. C.G. Burial, the temperance campaigner, published elements of this in a pamphlet, which had to be withdrawn and destroyed after it became too popular. Against the sisterhood of the not and foulness of their depraved customs, Hieronymus Hypernatomachus wrote this furious screed about the sinister influence of the sisterhood on his own church of the unconquered sun. De Oris, Book 2. The Tantra of Worms. The etymologist Juliana Zwijstowski eventually came to insist that this text was written by insects inhabiting a human skin. She never presented evidence for her claim. It is Sanskrit, so we're good there. I'll move this to the side. The Magus von Brandt's authentic and unique account of the true tongue of the true most holy land of the highmost, written excitably and in some haste by a gentleman in the grip of a transcendentalist enthusiasm, but nevertheless a useful guide to Aramaic. So this will be sold at Oriflamme's when I get the chance. And we have more rose pearl dust. Pearls are sacred to the witch and sister, especially those of this color. They have been used in protective rites, among others. Okay, let me just. I'm gonna grab a little bit of water, but let me just catch up with chat really quick. So, can I ask a really specific question? I think it'd be cool to stream in English, but I think you might put people off because of your accent. It's not very strong, but still. Thanks for the advice. Personally, Domi, I don't think that will be a matter. I also think some people will find an accent charming. I know a lot of people comment on my Canadian accent. I think there's always going to be 101 reasons why. So this is true of anything. This is what I feel whenever I go to write a new paper. I think this is probably true when somebody wants to sit down and make a game, or if you want to write a short story or a book. There's going to be 101 reasons why you shouldn't do it, and why you're not equipped for that, and you'll never be the best, and why the hell do you even think that anybody's interested in anything you have to say, you narcissistic monster? And it's a really good idea to shut this out, because there is the type of criticism that says, I could have come off a little more clearly when I said this thing. Or, I maybe oversold the point when I was saying X or whatever. But I don't think it's necessarily helpful to sort of say, okay, well, because I have an accent, nobody's going to like my stuff. If people don't like the accent, they're not really that focused on the content. And I mean, if it's something you want to change, sometimes I think throwing yourself in and working on it. I mean, obviously being able to present to an audience and then being able to see that recorded video and see how you sound, well, specifically hear how you sound, and be able to make some adjustments is not bad. You might feel more comfortable if you record yourself ahead of time and then listen to that. But I think the biggest thing is there's always going to be an excuse not to do something. And if you want to do a stream, I think you should do it, because the fact of the matter is, like, my first batch of streams, I was lucky that my first streams, I had people come in because it was a fundraiser. The second stream I did, nobody showed up until the very end, and then I had one person for probably about half an hour. So the nice thing about the early stages of a stream is that nobody might show up. By the way, let me know if you do stream, because I would like to support. But the biggest thing is that there will always be something to sort of say, oh, well, I could never do that. You know, I could never write a story. I could never make a game. I could never write a play. I could never become an actor. And you're probably not going to knock it out of the park the first time that you do it, but you at least owe it to yourself to try. If it's something you want to do, it's, you know, as long as you have access to OBS and an internet connection that is, I mean, some people even say I don't have enough bandwidth. I was uploading, I think it's something like 256K, or maybe it was 512. Anyways, it was an appalling bit rate. But as it turns out, I got a lot of people who watched my stream on mobile because of that, because I was one of the few non-partnered streamers who had a bandwidth that they could consistently watch on phone. And I was playing Crusader Kings, which didn't necessarily require as much visual fidelity as, say, Battlefield 5. So there's an audience for everything. So I would definitely say, you know, don't cut yourself off at the start. You may find out it's not for you. That's totally fine. There's nothing wrong with checking something out and then saying, this isn't for me. But I wouldn't want you to just say, well, because I have an accent and there'll be one person in the world who doesn't like it, I should never stream. I still, about once a week, I'll get a nasty comment on YouTube, usually some of my older videos. And I don't reply to them. When somebody says something neutral or like basically if it's backseating or if it's something nasty, I usually don't reply. I'll sometimes respond to the nasty ones with like, why would you say that? Or I will specifically try and address the claim that's being made if I think there might be a way of getting something useful out of it. But the most important thing is just to, you know, you'll never make everyone happy, but you can definitely focus on making yourself happy. And if having a hobby like streaming will make you happier than not having a hobby like streaming, I think you should do it. Yeah, well, actually, Tall Man Alive, in your own case, and actually you might want to take a page out of this book. Also, if you record something ahead of time and you just put it up as a VOD, you can obviously cut out the bits you don't like. I'm too lazy to edit, so... and so Tristan says that people prefer accents. That's cool, actually. I can't really say too much, but purposely drop into a Texan drawl from time to time. Hey, Melemony. Sorry, I need to catch up with everybody in chat. Okay, here's a quick... Okay, so Melemony is talking about her creative streamings. I am going to get that water I said I wanted to get. So if you guys can chat about your own streams, and if you'd like to tag me in any of the conversations, I know especially when I did Shadowrun Dragonfall, I did a bunch of accents, also Hong Kong. So for those of you who've heard me do an accent, what is your favorite? And I will be back in about 30 seconds with some refreshment. Sorry for the long wait.
What are you talking about, Eyes of Sin? You don't like the Caius voice?
Okay, I'm gonna get back. I'm sorry. I'm kind of declaring bankruptcy on the previous chat. So if you had something you wanted me to reply to and I didn't, just draw my attention to it inside of chat, and I will do my best to follow up. But for now, we are going to go through the Vanderschaft collection, a cramped little museum in the provincial town, long closed to the public since an outbreak of peculiar rapture in the room where they keep the pressed flowers. Only the very curious would ever pay attention to the place, and its close-warded storeroom of ill-omened treasures. So by default, we're going to add the percussagant and the hint. We're going to toss some more money at our problems. The door to the painted chamber of the Vanderschaft collection is locked and warded. The building is said to be haunted by flowers. Jamie Sam, you definitely do not want to go to my YouTube channel and see the over 40 hours of streams containing that voice. That's not even the demonic voice. Like that's supposed to be...
The Caius voice is supposed to be sort of like the Morrowind Dark Elves, but the catch is that it's also supposed to be the voice that would be my voice as a Morrowind Dark Elf. He's Caius from the Feywild, where the Fey go wild.
Although a similar one, I can also do the, you know... Let me see if I can...
It is excruciating, Melemony.
Just trying to find... the other one, sort of, I guess, demon-like that I can try, it's sort of closer to the Doom voice, you know. Who here likes John Keats?
Give me women, wine, and snuff, until I cry out, hold enough. You may do so sans objection, till the day of the resurrection. For bless my beard, they I shall be, my beloved Trinity.
That one's actually easier on the voice, believe it or not. But the ones I liked were the Dragonfall ones, where they were like Russian and Hong Kong and a few others. But I'm gonna stop this, and we will go to the white door, and we'll pretend that none of these voices happened. The problem is when I do the Caius voice, the Doomish one winds up getting a little muddled. I actually need to do the two separately. Cool. So I got the contentment from the painting, which was the plan. We probably got some notoriety for that as well. Why, the Eyes of Sin. I just love your accent. Actually, Johnny's heard me do some voices as well. I don't know if he has any opinions. Because the funny thing too, I just tend to do silly voices for the sake of it, and then I forget how I did them. But usually, if somebody says, "Hey, can you do the X one again?" I'm usually better at. I mean, it is your normal voice, but you kind of do these like "Welcome to the troop" kind of ones. So it's like you, but a lot more of you that you do. So it's not exactly an accent, but you definitely put a little something in that. That was a terrible imitation of you, by the way. I'm sorry. The stage awaits hot and clean and bare and bright. If I move the moves and step the steps and do what is required, they'll pay me. We cede our mouths to the thunder, we cede our feet to the dance, we cede our skins to the night, we do not cease, we do not cease, we do not cease. Victor has sharpened his cunning to a concentrated point. How about the Russian accent? Oh god. It's been a really long time. So in Dragonfall, there's a specific character named Raktor. And I had... So one of the tricks that I found about it is that I don't think I'm particularly good at accents so much as I pick up on particular characteristics. So one of the things about Slavic languages is that they don't have, like, they don't have the articles. So, you know, I went to store. In this case, I would do less of the blah, I want to suck your blood kind of voice, and I would focus a lot more on just dropping the articles to make, you know, to bring that across. So, and then in the game, well, you know what? Maybe I can find some of Raktor's dialogue. Shadowrun. Let's see if I can find some of his... Yeah, I don't know, but he'd always kind of talk about his little automated friend Koshai, and I try and bring it across there. I'm usually, if I can find some of his dialogue, I can bring it back, but I don't know. I think if I do anything on its own, I'd kind of be bad at it, but the terrible imitation was great. For the Russian or for Sin? I don't know. I'll try and find... I'll see if I can find... I'll maybe just download Dragonfall again. Next time you're in Domi, I'll try and do some of the dialogue, but I'm probably just going to butcher it again if I do it again. Plus, we need to recruit more people. I'm definitely not the person you should be looking for if you want help with your linguistics, though. I would say Domi. Oh, for Sin. Okay. Our expedition plans for the next challenge. It'll consume funds if I add funds now. Nope. Warded Door, Forge or Knock, and Heart or Winter. Okay, so we'll be covered for the Heart, at least a little bit. So let's put... you know what? We'll throw a Forge at it. So I've got enough vitality to deal with the damage to the heart. We'll get rid of the despair in 6 seconds, and I need to get rid of my fascination. I might actually get a fleeting memory from this. I do indeed. So in 40 seconds we can deal with that. Exercise mind, a brighter illumination. The higher I rise, the more I see. Oops. Okay, so I've got a rarefied mind. My mind is glass, my memory light. Reason and skill can increase no further. So this is the first I've maxed out both of these. I feel incredibly proud of myself. But as far as studying is concerned, we have a bunch of work ahead of us. So I can't translate this one because it's in VAC. We've got the Tantra of Worms, which is in Sanskrit, Greek, and Latin. I don't think any of these are ones that I need. Let's start with Latin. Lock the study door, the work begins. I didn't do that. Okay, damn it. Let's... So I'm gonna butcher this now, Jamie Sam, but I will do my best to get over myself Dragonfall Raptor. Oh, you know what? Maybe I'll just try. Maybe I'll just try reading out the. So we had. Okay. A former robot engineer from the homeland of Russia, Raktor became a Shadowrunner years ago, operating across Europe and Asia, notably in Berlin, Germany, and Raktor worked with Lucky Strike. Raktor's motivation for entering the life of Shadowrunning is set on vengeance when two colleagues stole a cybernetic project of his while he worked in Russia. Coincidentally, one of the player's team missions involves breaking into a Megacorp research lab, where Raktor's colleagues have found work. Here, Raktor has an opportunity to reclaim his robbed experiment, upgrading Koshai with self-repairing emergency backup, but his colleagues are not in the lab at the time, upsetting Raktor's murderous desires. So, yeah, that's definitely a lot more muddled. The first time I had to really brutally hurt my vocal cords was actually this other character. So, Gaiku, a former Red Samurai with the former operative of the name Saru, Gaiku is now a ghoul, though not a mindless one. His new status has him questioning the doctrinal rigidity of the Red Samurai. Gaiku now fights to win, at all costs if needs be. So, the other problem I run into is, I was originally... So I would actually like to try and do some voice work for something, probably not as an accent, but I would, if I had the opportunity to voice something, I'd like to. And I was thinking one of the Elder Scrolls projects might want it. And so they were thinking of doing Nords, but they wanted proper Nordic accents. And I tend to find whenever I do those, they wind up sounding a lot more Slavic. I can't quite get the... you know, I can always do like the really obvious. I am from Norway, but sorry for being harsh. I didn't think you were very harsh. Thank you, Jamie Sam. That you were the opposite of harsh. Yeah, like for the Nordic ones, I really can't do. And then I don't know, like I sometimes think that their requests are a lot higher than what they really should be asking for. So like basically for every high elf, they effectively want Benedict Cumberbatch to do free work. And I was like, I can't do Benedict Cumberbatch. So I don't know. It's something I'd like to do, but I don't know. I also have not set myself up for success. I did find out about auditions for the game Unavowed, and I actually ran into the thing I encouraged Domi not to do, which I was like, well, they're not going to want me. And that was obviously an opportunity for me to apply towards doing some voice acting thing, and I didn't, and there really haven't been any other opportunities to come up, so I should put myself out there more, but I do need to find more opportunities to do that, so. Oh, lovely. I'll definitely want to check those out where I can, so we'll almost certainly shatter this warded door. Tonight I sense an opportunity. Tonight I sense tonight I could attract attention if I cease to hold back and if I commit myself more fully. Yeah, the only other thing I can say on the accents is that I tend to find... So when I get into my own head, I'm really bad at them, and when or at the very least, like, they're mixed. And I tend to find when I cut loose on them, that's when I tend to hear a lot of, that's pretty good. So I set myself up for failure anyway, but I'm pretty sure if you go on, if you find the Dragonfall ones, I might have a slightly better example of some of the accents. Honestly, though, I would prefer just to do normal voices if I can. But yeah, I tend to find that if I do an accent, it's usually best to just fully commit. That's one of the reasons why I like doing the Elder Scrolls streams, even though I know it's not really a Morrowind voice, and it really hurts my vocal cords by the end of 4 hours. don't really have a lot to do. Well, that's not true. If I try to upgrade my lore, I might need these, so... The Sun in Splendor, the Hour who once ruled the Mansus, was known to walk in the orchard before his terrible division. Sometimes his remnants walk here still. Sometimes I see the chilly radiance of the Menascate through the trees, or the chillier radiance of the sun in rags. Were they to come upon me, it might be my end, but to see them in the distance is a gift of insight. See, now I know you're talking about Sin. Alright, back to the door. I felt all their eyes upon me. Afterwards I received a gift from an admirer. A little too personal for me to feel comfortable, but I can sell it on the second-hand market. What do I want to do for work now? I could try and fulfill some of these commissions now that I think about it. So I'm gonna get some content. Oh, you know what? I screwed up. I should have used this fleeting memory. I will have just enough time to get rid of this other fascination with that. But I think I'm gonna do this moth commission. So what do they need? They need level 6 moth. And we'll put a reason and a passion in there. This may be useful for a commission. So Tristan says, have a good stream, off to get your own going for the night. Happy New Year. Thank you very much for stopping by, Sir Tristan. I will do my best to stop by. I'm probably actually going to end a little later than I intend for myself. But if I don't get to see you tonight, I will definitely be sure to stop by. Thank you very much for the follow and the host. And for those of you that weren't already checking out Sir Tristan, definitely feel free to give him your own attention. He's somebody who's kind of consistently auto-hosted for the past little while. First chance I've been able to thank him in person, though. So for those of you who want to check out new streams, be sure to check that out. All right. What am I doing now? I think we'll just go into a bit of a loop of translating and moving on. What am I at for time? I may not be able to do the full extra hour because I do have work in the morning, but I'll try to do at least another half hour. Solitude. Some days are better than others. Sometimes the sky is nothing like a filthy sheet. Sometimes the river runs clear. Alright, so we've translated. We'll study that right away. This volume, an occasionally coherent catalogue of the secret gods. This is an English translation of a volume describing the enmity between the Lionsmith and the Tribune of Scars. This volume mostly deals with the Lionsmith, the Tribune of Scars, and their enmity. So one of the reasons, again, just following through with what we were saying before, our expedition plans for the next challenge. It'll consume funds. I can add funds now, or I can send another follower. I thought we cracked this door. Doors have two purposes: to open and to remain closed. Today this door remains true to its... Oh, second purpose. Did somebody get a scar? Let's throw a heart in. Leo, you're up. And yeah, we'll carry on with the rest. I don't want the restlessness. Let's go to the Lodge of the Sage Knight. Hey, Forgotten Chronicle. Story of a city without a gate, of a queen who was not born, of a war which was not fought. Last night I visited the Lodge of the Sage Knight. My host had manifested as an elegant woman with fashionably short hair and dark glasses. No, she admits, I don't need them anymore, any more than I need eyes. Allow me my sentimentalities. But you've come here for knowledge, I expect. Here's a story I heard in my Kerisham days. You're welcome to it. Only remember me if you come to make the pilgrimage. Okay, so I have a few things to do with my dreams. I think the first thing I'm going to do is annihilate the fascination. I don't like leaving the afflictions up for too long, but in this case I should... Ooh, yeah, no, I'll be okay for vitality. And then I've got work, so we finished the manuscript. And not gonna have enough time, so we'll go straight to the Gaiety Club. I hope you guys don't mind that I'm not going to do the full 3 hours tonight. I'll try and go as close to it as I can, but if it's already 11, I do want to make sure that I want to make sure that I do one of Sean's games tonight. I think Judgment is fairly close. Oh, everyone's favorite! Neville pauses before he speaks and flinches easily. He laughs whenever he thinks you've made a joke. But yeah, I got a late start, and I want to try and get as close to like a full stream as I can, and but I also want to be a little more responsible with the time that I'm going to bed and such. So. We'll almost certainly shatter this warden. You said that last time! Let's throw some money at the problem. Talk lately, you are playing and starting to fulfill the 2 lores required to try and increase your chances, specifically when it comes to curses. It seems like this is working out, but you're not sure. So... I suppose I should say, are you saying this as a comment, or are you looking for feedback on that, Domi? The Lionsmith makes monsters to defeat the Tribune, but the scars of the Tribune are each weapon. So we've got yet another knife secret. When our ancestors forged swords, taught the arts of martial movement, spoke curses on the eve of battle, all these things shared certain patterns. I think I'm going to have to start subverting lore before too long. But that's going to be my absolute last resort. Let's translate Greek. Lock the study door, the work begins. Looking for feedback. So, personally, and this is less of a hard rule so much as what's worked for me, is focusing on one of the lores that has... So it's sort of this idea... all doors must open, all lives must end. This door found its end here today. So I think it is going to use... It's going to use one of the lore that you have. So for instance, if you add one, let's say that it's those monks. So they can be deceived, or they can be with moth, or they can be attacked with edge. Personally, the way that I do this is I focus on the edge or the moth. And usually I go for the one that I have the highest of, because that will push me over the edge. I think if you were to put one moth follower and one edge follower in, I believe you would be splitting your attention, and as a result, you wouldn't be having as much success. But one of the ways that you can know that you've sort of hit a higher level, the text changes, and it usually says something to the effect of, "We'll almost certainly pass this now." But it's also important to remember that now that they've added the wound system in, even if you have hit the highest probability, there is always some positive probability that you will fail. Even if you've got like 99 in a given aspect. The game is structured now that you can always potentially fail. Maybe she just really... Yeah, there you go. It's a wonderful name. I chose it myself. Okay, let's throw some more passion at it. I don't exactly need the money, but what else am I going to do with it, right? The ceremony is resonant as thunder in a church. I know it well, I wrote it myself. Neville pauses before he speaks, and he flinches easily. He's sensitive to deeper matters. Now we're going to make him a better Neville. Can I get away with... Yes, I can. My follower will kneel as a novice and rise as an initiate. I will administer the necessary oaths myself. So I always get nervous when I see the affliction go down, so I felt their eyes upon me. Afterwards I received a gift from an admirer. A little too personal for me to feel comfortable, but I can sell it in the second-hand market. I'm convinced that I only get this one now. There was a clear turning point in this playthrough where I only ever started getting the little too personal statement. What would a winter victory look like? A peaceful rest? Talk with Poppy. She'll show you a winter ending. Heart 2, I got some of that. Obviously I can't turn them in, but well, one of the ones that I really enjoy is whenever I go in like GOG streams and stuff like that, the air is curdled now, but I am home again in this lumpen flesh. Better, perhaps. So we'll definitely deal with the affliction. All I need now is time. What was it? So I'll go into like GOG streams and stuff like that, and I will tell people, or like so like, you know, somebody will be playing even like System Shock itself. I do this all the time with Kilgore Trout, and it's like, you know, I'll go in and I'm like, System Shock 2, what is this? Some kind of Bioshock clone? And my name is System Shock. Like, you could not possibly get a bigger signifier that I have played this game. And inevitably, there's going to be like 2 or 3 guys who fall over themselves going, actually, System Shock 2 was way before Bioshock, and it's by the same guy. My favorite actually was in Johnny's channel, where he was playing Demon Souls. How are we for heart? I think I'm going to hold off on adding someone for now, but in Johnny's channel he was playing Demon Souls, and I basically said as like, man, this looks like such a low budget ripoff of Dark Souls. From Software should sue these guys. Actually, Demon Souls was the first Dark Souls. They should be suing, you know, they should be suing them. And I was like, and so first of all, I love this because the guy apparently was suggesting that From Software should sue themselves, which admittedly I am suggesting as well, but like he is correcting me with something that's not not any more factual. But then there was this other guy who's like, you know, it's the same company. I'm like, no, Dark Souls, Demon Souls, they're not the same game. Anyone can see they're not the same game. This one has way worse graphics. And like, I'm totally just like leaning into this one here. I am trying to signpost, short of like tattooing on my forehead, like I am being an idiot here on purpose. And like, if you watch that VOD, Johnny is laughing. He actually says it about it. It's like, I don't see why you guys don't see what's happening. And the guy was still losing his mind. He was so angry with me for being wrong on the internet. And obviously, like, I'll get worked up about stuff too. I tend to get worked up when people backseat me, or when people are basically asking questions to things that they already know the answer to. Because that's usually either a waste of time, or it's, you know, it kind of carries with it this sort of assumption. It's like, you know, well, you know, it's my job to play the game for you now. You're screwing this up, so I'm gonna do this for you now. But like, it's definitely not, you know, somebody's wrong on the internet and I'm gonna be mad about them. I know there are people, like there's one guy who went into a channel and claimed that he was banned because he's a Milo Yiannopoulos fan. I've never banned someone before for that. In fact, when I was playing Pollen, there was a genuine Trump supporter in, and we had a conversation, and I specifically brought up the fact that I said, it's like, you know, I've not told you any of the things you'll normally hear from somebody who's a Trump supporter. I just think it's really interesting that once you heard something that's different from what you will hear as a standard criticism of this candidate, that's when I'm being told that I'm not allowed to have an opinion because I'm not an American. And, I just kind of pointed out, I thought that was not the strongest case that he could make for somebody who's trying to say that he's not allowed to say his ideas. So I took them as seriously as I could, and I could bring them up. I actually like it if people can express an idea in the chat, just so long as it's one that's sort of thought through. But I know it makes for a cool story. I know a lot of these guys are just begging to get banned in a channel somewhere so they can be as like, yeah, I pissed them off with the truth. And I'm like, not really, but yeah, anyways, I am very poorly behaved in Twitch channels. It's really my own channel where I put on the nice guy act for a little while. Hieronymus claims that the powers served by the Sisterhood of the Knot make an arrangement. The Thunderskin loved the Yew, and the Grail destroyed him, as restitution for the destruction of the Axe's loved ones. Hieronymus's writing becomes incoherent with rage at this point, just like me when I'm backseated. Okay, I think we'll just read this one and carry on. We're strong enough in heart to be almost entirely secure against this curse. So I'll give you an example of what I was talking about here, Domi, in terms of the lore. So if I add another heart, it doesn't actually change the text. If I'd planned a little bit better, I could have withdrawn Leo and done this test. Now you'll also notice if I add, what was the other one we needed? Winter. So we have... I don't think we have any winter aspect in here yet. So let's say, for the sake of the argument, that I add Alcair. And again, you'll notice, in this case, I've got 5 winter, but I'm obviously going to be breaking this through heart. So adding Alcair is just really another body, which is not adding anything. That's at least my understanding of how that works. So I could be wrong in that, by the way, but just that's how I play. And Neville's gaze has grown furtive, and his voice sometimes shrill. He speaks freely of his dreams. Let's do... we'll send in the commission, actually. You know, it just occurred to me with all of those really weak accents that this is going to be on YouTube forever. And I feel really bad about that now. Maybe keep trying to fight curses with 10 heart, 10 winter as superstition, but that makes sense. Yeah, well, so to give you an example, Domi, I used to do in healing, I always thought I needed vitality and money. And then one day I found out that it could be vitality or money. That was a game changer. So I think you're doing those quests the way that I used to do healing. When you had a fallen expedition member with 17 edge, oof. Stage awaits hot and clean and bare and bright. If I move the moves and step the steps and do what is required, they'll pay me. Well, thank you, Jamie. It's more of a self-consciousness thing, and I think it's especially because I know if I get in my own head on those ones, they don't sound as good as when I cut loose on them. So, but I mean, I was kind of I also got to talk about how insecure I am about the sound of my voice in general. So, I will put on a brave face and pretend that it was all intended all along. I meant to do that. What was requested. Also nowadays, who doesn't have something embarrassing on YouTube? Clearly, I've never had any embarrassing moments on YouTube. If you think they're embarrassing, that's just because you're not as cool as I am. Okay, 45 seconds of notoriety. I'm feeling very unlucky, punk. Okay. 90% sure we'll get by. I received the currency of the secret world, and my patron has let tantalizing information slip. The doctor will see me now. Oh man. I never really think about YouTube as school project. I mean, I recorded one presentation I gave in school for YouTube because somebody wanted to see it, but other than that, Hieronymus recovers his composure, eventually to describe how the Thunderskin entered the Mantis through the Peacock Door. This, Hieronymus insists, is an abomination upon abomination, but then the most abominable of doors has always been an abomination. Hey, new Forbidden Epic, so I can chat with Sulochana about that. And just in time, the good doctor would like... Secret history. Wait a minute, what am I doing? There will be order. Okay, study. Let's do the tantras now. So, Sanskrit, Tantra... We'll do the Tantra of Worms. Study door, the work begins. And just in time to have a nice chat with... Sulochana stubs out her cigarette. Yes, if you want to study the language with me, yes you can. Is there something else? Oh, that's right. You can get Sanskrit from her now. It used to be Aramaic was always hard for me, but... As to that, I'm going to be very disappointed if this is the expedition that I needed. Our power is stronger than the power that was here. The curse won't touch us. So we are on our way to unlocking treasures. I have money. I have a job. I have my health. And we'll see if I have my liberty. What do I want to do for study? You know what? Let's just get that commission out of the way. Oh, actually... Why leave it to chance? Okay, Dr. Deem does not want to be painted. Neville, get over here. Okay, actually, so the one bit of acting I have done, I got a very nice comment from the instructor. This was an English class. I was doing King Lear, and I had to play one of the daughters. And I did, so the whole way, this is the thing that I love about doing Shakespeare, which is you don't need to chew the scenery for it. Essentially what I did for this, it's the scene where Lear is dividing up the, it's like at the beginning, he's dividing the kingdom, and the daughters are kind of one-upping each other in terms of how, you know, how great their love is for him and so on and so forth. And I can't remember which of the two daughters I wound up playing, but basically the way that I did it, I was second. So the entire dialogue was specifically designed to put the screws to the speaker before. And I was chatting with the instructor afterwards, and she was like, oh, actually, no, sorry, that's not true. There have been two acting ones. And both times the instructor afterwards commented on it. One, she said, is like, you know, I really like the way that you played, God, why can I not remember her name? The other one was, there's a law professor, and he'd just done a translation of the Apology of Socrates. And the condition was, oh, there's no recording of it, Domi, I'm sorry. But the condition of it was, if you wanted to go to the discussion, you had to participate in the reading. So everybody went around the table, and everybody has the same reaction. Oh, you know, I can't do any acting or that. It's like, didn't matter. If you were in the room, you had to pay the price, and the price was that you had to read, some of the dialogue. And if you've not read the Apology of Socrates, it's great. I think the Phaedrus is probably my favorite of the dialogues by Plato, but the Apology is good stuff. And I got to do the bit where he's cross-examining. It's like the first accuser. What's the name again? Apology of Socrates. Oh, Meletus. So basically that one I went for full sarcasm, which is obviously not a difficult one. That is not a difficult one for me to... You like how the refined song starts when Chalk is being... Yeah, actually, a funny thing about that, though, this is by Ligeti. This is actually not music that was made for Cultist Simulator. This is... If you've ever heard... So his Atmospheres was... made for well, not made for, but it's the one, it's probably it's the music that plays during the really famous Stargate scene in 2001: A Space Odyssey. It really is. This actually used to be the music that played over the alpha of the game. We've got pulsing airs, you guys know what that means. The hours have been called unmerciful, but they permit sleepers sometimes to walk in the orchard of lights. Where the fruit glows like sunset, where the roots of the trees are shaped for peaceful rest, and where mist soothes the heart. I was there last night, and the taste of fruit lingers, sharp and sweet as the passage of spring to summer. But yeah, so if you are ever called upon to read the Apology, and you are doing the bit where he cross-examines Meletus, just play it like the most sarcastic ass you possibly can. And like the guy who translated it was not only laughing, he actually stopped the reading and said, "That's exactly what it should be like." I'm pretty sure he was crazy, but yeah, I had a really great time playing Socrates because I got to let my inner jerk out, but in a very amusing way. So. Okay, more restlessness on the horizon, and we'll give up some health. And we'll spend money on the colors of the night. You know what? This is probably going to... This is not going to fully turn over by the time this finishes, and it very well could be the notoriety that gets picked up. This is the easiest road at this time of year, but it won't be easy. Enjoy yourself. Fox Lily Meadows. The scent of fox lilies inspires ferocious appetites. It is probably fortunate that they only grow at this altitude. The peasants have organized to keep treasure seekers away, but some treasure seekers fall prey to the lily hungers. Their own treasures lie among their bones, and so the cycle continues. You found all the expeditions in the land beyond the forest, although you can find and visit the meadows several times. I don't actually think I found all of the expeditions. Although, I should be focusing on getting my next form. So, I've prepared the text for studies, we've got the Tantra of Worms. I think I probably have enough heart to be able to get to the next level, so... Let's read the Tantra of Worms. The Tantra explains various less than practical countermeasures against the worms, and the serpents which are not serpents. Moth and Winter are closest to them, and so understand their weaknesses, but both have their own perils. The Lionsmith crushes them, but that's not recommended for mortals. Okay, I've got a free speech verb. I could try upgrading my pawns, but let's try and tempt people with lore. I said, let's try and tempt people with lore. Hooray, Mystique! Contentment's always welcome. Oh, that's a lot of contentment. That's a good Neville. let's do the secret histories. Oh, but I closed myself off of using the pulsing airs. A book of pressed flowers emanating is a peculiar scent. 3 elderly Baedeker. Oh, here. The walls of the painted chamber carry scenes of war from the major histories: Vienna falling to the worms, the sovereigns of the leashed flame burning the martyr soldiers of the Knot Sisterhood, the meeting of Alexander and the Shadowless King. Along one wall, the shelf is stuffed with junk and curiosities. A book of pressed flowers emanating a peculiar scent. 3 elderly Baedekers, a collection of butterflies painted black and white, and the real treasures, an oddity in a glass case, and a cloisoned coffer of rare books. Alright, so we've got a rattling in the soul now. There's some notoriety, which might actually cause me some problems. Yeah, I actually should have thought of that through. Okay, I think I have I know how I'm going to handle that. My hint, my Pergusagant. Alright, the Geminiad. Again, I don't have Vac. Wait a minute. That's no Fusine. Alright. A Jumble, that's due for Overflams when I can. Their Paradoxical Curio. Oh, damn it. I know there's a thing that I need to do with this. Sometimes it's hard to be sure if an arrow slew the Empress Herodias, the Emperor Eudokia. Sometimes it's possible that oh, wait a minute. Yes, I remember. I summoned someone with this. That's why I want this. Sometimes it's possible that an Ormolu clock was stolen in the sack of Vienna even as it rested safe in the vaults of Rome. Yet another copy of Magius von Brandt's authentic and unique account of the true tongue of the true Holy Land of the Highmost. Oh, this looks good, except that I don't have Frisian. I gotta remember... It's a dead language. I can get that off of a item in an expedition, and I think one of the bigger summons teaches me that. And the Watchful Tantra, notorious for its involvement in the deaths of Dyfed Jones and Meredith Blaine, 2 early physicists who each claimed to have the only copy, and who ultimately fought a duel over it in 1840. So at least I've got a couple things I can translate. Alright. I'm at least going to start the expedition for Chateau Reveline, because if I don't, I'm going to lose my hint. The favorite stories of the Comte de Reveline claim that they descended from the first Sun King. Other stories have them prowling the forest in wolf shape. They are long gone, their rotting chateau remains. Not all of its malignities have been uncovered. It's not so much spoiler free so much as I don't want backseating. Like I definitely know that you can learn the languages from people though. So it's unless it's specifically related to the Dancer DLC, I don't think I can be spoiled on anything for this game anymore, although I'm sure there's lots of lore bits that I don't follow. So I generally trust people to use good judgment when it comes to like the whole backseating or spoilers thing. But yeah, I'm pretty sure I don't think I can be spoiled for this game unless it's specific to the Dancer DLC anymore. Is there anything else I can do at the moment? Okay. I know you'll probably be mad at me, but I do have 1 more minute until... You know what? I'll start next week's session with the dance. So we will save and exit for here. For those of you who are only here for Cultist Simulator, that is it for today. Quick reminder, especially if you are somebody who likes this stuff enough to watch a whole video of it, I am debating... So my original intention with the Dancer DLC was to go into stuff like the beta branch And it's been pretty apparent that in reality, I get anywhere between about 9 to 12 hours of gameplay, a lot closer to 9 a month. And of course, the way that Cultist Simulator works, unless you kind of know everything, or you have a lucky break, or you use the console or something like that, it's usually not enough to kind of like get through a big session. So it's maybe less surprising in retrospect that I didn't get as far in the Dancer as I wanted. And one of the things that I'm thinking, for those of you who watch the stream live, or you might have been watching some of these playlists come up, I've got a pretty consistent stream of the Elder Scrolls going, where it's a pre-recorded video and it premieres on Twitch, and then there's a video of it on YouTube. And then I'm also doing the same with Surviving Mars. On that note, by the way, I'm not actually done streaming yet. I'm going to do something of Sean's. I'm just closing off for the Cultist Simulator thing. There'll be another episode of the Surviving Mars sort of relaxation stream. This is where I try to be a little bit more mellow and a little bit softer in my voice. I was originally going to have a broadcast version of this. I recorded it in parallel with the high quality video. Unfortunately, it was 2 sessions of OBS that was open. The high quality video was fully recorded and properly encoded, and OBS version 0.659b decided that it didn't want to actually finish the recording, and so the 7 gigabyte file was corrupted. I've actually played it, Sean. So I was debating on doing that and then sneaking in a second one. But yeah. I wasn't just making it up when I said that I didn't relate to the game at all because I'm an expert at everything that I play right away. I was speaking from experience. But yeah, for those of you who do follow the Cultist Simulator stuff, and specifically if you maybe just only come for that, I am debating on shifting it from being sort of a dedicated Wednesday game to doing more vodcasts of it, because the vodcasts have been a little bit of a trial balloon for possibly putting Cultist Simulator in that area. And the reason for that is that if I move away from doing Cultist Simulator as a dedicated live cast once a week, then that means I can play it on my own time, a lot like when it was in beta. That means I'll make more progress inside the game, and I'll generally have more Cultist Simulator content. The drawback, of course, is that for those of you who like the interactivity of a live broadcast, won't have that. There'll still be a chat to speak in on the VODs, unlike the vodcasts, and I'll obviously do my best to be inside of chat for that. But it's something I'm considering, and again, it's a great way for me to get more cultist material in general. But this is definitely something that I am actively looking for feedback on. So if you're speaking in chat on Twitch, if you're commenting on YouTube, or you want to say something on Twitter, I'd like to think I'm reasonably accessible, and I'd be interested in knowing what people think. I know the ideal for YouTube would be something that gets edited. If I start editing videos, that'll be time that I'm not playing Cultist Simulator, and so there will be even less content than more. But I have debated on trying to do edited videos. But for now, I think I'll say the choices between either continuing to do these as live broadcasts once a week, or to move them to like a vodcast and have something that's just me playing the game. I won't necessarily be responding to chat, but I will still be talking like I normally do over the game. And nothing's permanent. Like if it turns out that it's something that isn't as good as I thought it might be, or if people don't really react to it, I can always bring back the live cast. Anyways, let me take a minute and bring up Sean's website again. So for those of you who weren't here earlier, the Sean in the chat is the guy who runs this website. Well, this is his itch website. He doesn't so much run itch so much as he has his own site on itch. And I think his most recent game, I know there was like a snow shoveling one, and then there's the Holiday Yarn is another recent one. But we are going to play Judgment, which I believe is his most recent creation. And Sean makes a lot of stuff in a tool called Bitsy. And so far as I can tell, so it's designed for making small games. It's web-based, and I don't think it has any like control. Like, I don't think you can like assign variables and stuff like that. I don't think you can actually implement something like a combat system that isn't deterministic in the sense of like you choose this dialogue option or you go to this place and there's this reaction. But as I was saying earlier on in the stream, the thing that's so cool about Sean's material is that he takes something that seems like a really basic tool where you can make some interesting things, but you don't like expect, like you sort of have an expectation of roughly what a Bitsy game is going to be. And then you look at Sean's stuff and you realize that there's a lot of creativity and there's lots of different ways of doing interesting things. So anyway, I probably should stop. Well, actually, I'm wondering if I should show. No, I was thinking of like showing what a normal Bitsy game looks like. Oh, there are tools for variable dialogue, but it's very limited. Yeah, I was trying to think, like, the first thing I was sitting down, I was like, I really like turn-based strategy games. So I was like, I wonder if I can do like a turn-based strategy game in Bitsy. And I'm like, nope, there is no possible way that will ever happen. Well, okay, and then you're going to go and make some strategy game in Bitsy, and I'm going to feel like an asshole. But anyways, here is Judgment. And this is going to be super, like, is there a way of like giving a proper credit in here? Yeah, this will roughly do. I just want to make sure I'm not. Someone did make a turn-based JRPG, but not strategy as far as you know. Well, I'll try to be the first. Oh, hang on. I'm an idiot. Okay, we now have full screen Judgment. Five of Swords. 2. King. 4. My trick. Ace of Wands. 10. 2. King. Mine again. 8 of Wands. Queen. 7. It's your turn. I'm out of wands. Okay. What do I do? Trump or burn. And it's first break, so if you can trump, you have to. Yeah. Oh, okay. What was Trump again? Really? It's pentacles. I don't have pentacles either. Do you have any major arcana? Yeah? Majors are always trump. Ugh. Shush. All right, chat. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna go with the option I went for my own first playthrough, and I'm going to leave it to you good people to find out what these other two cards are. Ooh, reverse judgment. We said no reversals. Oh yeah. So I can't play this? Well, no, but you can play a regular judgment. Ooh, regular judgment. So I get the trick? Obviously. You took the trick, so it's your lead. I'm thinking. What was your bid? They bid 1. Yeah. Okay, so you want to avoid the rest of the tricks. So best to play low if you can. Or lead with a trump. Quit cheating! Just play what you want. Sorry, I should have done individual voices for these guys. Sorry if I'm being a spoiled sport, but you know, I didn't think this is what Let's Play Tarot meant. Ta-da! Judgment. A game by Sean LeBlanc. I'm actually really curious if I'll probably hear this in like a couple of weeks. You idiot! That's not how any of the dialogue's supposed to sound. But that is a Bitsy game. And specifically, that is a Bitsy game that looks totally unlike normal Bitsy games. What I'll do here, actually, I think I'm going to do another one of his. And Sean, you can recommend one. I'll also say in chat, especially if you guys are going to if you guys are on this website, you can mention, oh, actually, there was one, was it the PCM tool? There was one where you get like generated music. It was. Okay, now I'm slightly curious. That's enough of that. So yeah, he actually doesn't just do games. He actually does fun little tools as well. So sorry about adding the 10. But yeah, so if you guys are on Sean's site, I will let oh, you recommend hitting mutate. Sorry, I should have read chat rather than. I guess I can go back. I played with this the day after you introduced it. Oof, yeah, we're gonna hit randomize there. Let's get something that looks like really complicated. But yeah, so if you guys are on his website, I would love some. Peace at last. Maybe I'll stop that for now. I'll wait until I find something really cool, and I'll bring that back. But I'm going to try and find something a little more traditional from Bitsy, just to give you an idea of what it's like. And then if somebody can recommend the next thing they'd like to see from Sean's page, that'll be the last thing that we end on. Yeah, I'm going to stop doing the PCM tool because I appreciate that maybe people in chat don't want to have that. I'm okay hearing that output because I roughly know to turn down my audio, but maybe not doing that to the unsuspecting chat. I should have been a little more thoughtful on that. Sorry. Let's say I don't think I've played any of these. Okay, dark and cold because it looks spooky. Okay, you wake up in the dark. How did you get here? found a torch. Who left it here? How can it still be lit? Passage is closed. You can see the stairs on the other side. You found a rusty sword. You feel somewhat safer holding it. Oh, cool. I didn't know that you could show your footprints. Stranger. Cough, cough, cough. It's nice to see a friendly face in this place. Cough. Wait, let me share some wisdom with you. Like one lost soul with another. Please put away the sword and sit by a fellow explorer. Abandon curiosity. That's a trick done by having the footprints exist on the map, then covering them with items that you pick. Oh, that's really smart. There's nothing of interest for you here. Just move on. Let me lay for a moment. I'll show you the way when I wake up. And we'll leave this forsaken place. We're so close. Found a key. This man held it in his hand until the very end. Torch of an old man that's still lit. Corpse of an old man. Ah, neat. It's like the witness. So that's like, this is something I wouldn't necessarily have thought of, but this is a great little thing you can do in Bitsy, which is a puzzle like that. This is actually, so I actually don't dislike Bitsy things, but this is definitely, I think this is pretty good for, ascend the stairs, returning to the outside world. What is it you found among these cold walls? What were you looking for? The real treasure was the friends we made along the way. Alright. Nobody has mentioned the game. So I would personally like to do definitely a real MMO, but the thing that made me laugh so much is something that will mute the VOD if I do this again. So let's do... Wait, where is it? I know you've put this on your site. I know it was a Bitsy game. This one is a really cool one because it... Oh, here it is. Oh, I wasn't going to keep... I was actually... there's a lot of people who really want me to play Stardew Valley. So we are going to play Lunar Cultivation, especially because this one is reasonably short, and for whatever reason I cannot maximize it. Okay, back to the old ways. Lunar Cultivation. It's the Weather Channel. Cloudy with a chance of rain. I'll let them sleep for now. It's my bed. I'm not tired yet, though. Crackle. You got a watering can. You got a shovel. You don't have to stream anything? I do want to stream Stardew Valley. And I've technically streamed Stardew Valley on at least one occasion. This one's not ready. You give it some water. You got a turnip. You got a turnip. Oh my god, I got a turnip! I got a turnip. I got a turnip. I got a turnip? I've got a turnip. I've got a turnip. Hello. Nice day out, isn't it? You got a basket of apples. Hey, those are my apples. Let's leave the scene. Wait a minute. Want to buy some apples? Hello. If you want to buy anything, just let me know. Hey, this counter is for employees only. Moo. Meow. Oh, I'm getting tired. The welcoming sign in the town, has the town name and the population count. You're getting kind of tired. Now, I could show you guys the village, but then you wouldn't have a reason to play Lunar Cultivation on your own, so I'm going to try and get back to bed before I get too tired. Oh, damn it. I forgot there's something I need to do. Maybe I should sell those apples. Mayor McCheese? Hello, citizen. Can the mayor help you? There's a sign here. It reads, sorry, the bridge is past the squares. Ah! The bridge past the town square is out. Yes. Oop. No romancing the town members. You feel like you're becoming one of those people who wants to see me play Stardew? You guys have seen the clip of the last time I played Stardew Valley, right? And I pass out from exhaustion. And that is Lunar Cultivation by the inimitable Sean LeBlanc. Please do check out his itch site. I'm on it right now. Where are we? Unfortunately, I think I accidentally copied that ear-splitting music that I gave you. I'm sorry for not selling his tool to you very well. Yes. I'm going to set this to the right size. I think it's still technically saying I'm playing Cultist Simulator, so I should probably... oh my god, you guys can't see this. I should probably leave it at that. Thank you guys for staying for those extra bits. If you do find anything weird and wonderful on itch that you'd like to see me do, I'm happy to try new things, although I'm definitely kind of pressed for games, but I do like taking the time to do, especially like short little things like these. I'm happy to, to spend a little bit of time and show you guys something new. And I hope above all that this has motivated you to check out Sean's itch, because there's a lot more stuff there, and I think you guys will enjoy it. I didn't want to totally play everything through the full experience, because then it doesn't give you a reason to try out his games. But play Stardew and appease us. Okay, so for those of you that have not seen... Let me find that clip just to satisfy your bloodlust. In fact, I'm going to this will be the last thing that I do. I will show you the Stardew Valley clip, because we're getting postmodern. And that will be the last thing we do tonight. So, for those of you who have not seen the last time I played Stardew Valley, welcome to Living Off the Land. We're back again with another tip for y'all. Now listen up. This one's for all you greenhorns out there. Chop wood and search for wild forage to earn some cash while waiting for your first harvest. Everybody's telling me to do work. So if I wind up playing Stardew Valley and I don't directly respond to anybody in chat, you'll know I'm pulling another one of those. But I think that is a trick I can only get away once. And yeah, that was Stardew Valley, a big hit on this channel. It used to be my most popular clip. But I have overstayed my welcome. So thank you, everybody, for hanging out. Thank you for checking out some weird and wonderful games, as well as Cultist Simulator. If you're here for Cultist Simulator, that will be back next Wednesday. And then I'm probably going to be back. So we finished Battlefield 5 on last Friday. So I'm probably back to Mass Effect. We're going to finish up Mass Effect 2. And I've got a big stack of things that I want to do in early 2019. But I think probably finishing Mass Effect is going to be top on that list. And then we'll take it from there. So thank you, everybody, for hanging out. I don't know... Eyes of Sin, if you're still around, I'm going to send you a quick DM. I just got to see if these people are still online. Oh, nope, that answers it for me. Okay, so I don't actually know Elegy that well, but Eyes of Sin has been a really big supporter of the channel. So I'm going to send you to Elegy's channel. You do not need to do the "we're tired of system talk, heard this place was better" line. I'm pretty sure Sin mod's there, so you probably won't get in any trouble. But I don't know him particularly well, so much as the fact that Eyes of Sin mods for him. And the other guy who was going to host, Octavian Zero, is not currently streaming. So I will let you guys try it out. He's playing Mega Man Battle Network? I have no idea what that is. So I hope you enjoy it. He is one of the people who sells you Twitch Prime memberships. But I will leave you in his capable hands, and let me know if you like it. So have a good evening, and I'll see you all Friday.